Is he, does he talk? Does he meow?
Only when he wants food. So, he should be fine. He's basically going to be scritching about, trying to kill everything.
Scritching and scratching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scritching and scratching, just like a bowl of muesli.
Wow. Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about all things Magic flavour design and lore. I'm your host, Andy Mann.
Hello, this is Nathan Cancel.
You've also got a Fox candle holder.
I do, that was from Mother.
Sorry, this is we weren't recording when we were talking about that just now, were we?
No, I don't think so.
You've got so much Fox stuff. We are talking about Foundations Jumpstart, specifically Jumpstart today. They are obviously doing the Foundations set proper. How would you describe Foundations? It's like Magic Origins.
It's the core set of all core sets.
Yeah, it's the Foundation core set.
Yeah, exactly.
It is an interesting one. I thought this one on Magic Origins came out because as much as you and I played together from, say, like Return to Ravnica onwards, as in, like, that was the first set that I really, like, paid attention to for Magic. Magic Origins was the first set, like, a few years later, which that's actually that I bought a lot of for myself, going into, like, Shadows over Innistrad and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even then it struck me as weird that they were essentially going, Magic is, like, starting again, or, like, this is the first proper Magic. I know it's not quite, but it seems like that's how they're, you know... And so Foundations is, like... We understand there has to be a jumping on point, but you keep saying that every set is a jumping on point.
The way I look at it is as an onboarding point, right? Like, if they keep letting the story kind of get away from them, and they start doing these wackier and wackier things, because this is going to be a half and half episode, we're also going to talk a little bit about essentially what came out with the Foundations panel, where it talks about the next year and a half, 2 years, and like what they're going to be doing in Standard, kind of like a few different changes. Basically, it does kind of feel like they've all gone... Cool, we're kind of entering a new age of Magic. And with that new age, we need to set a tone for what the base level... Oh my god, Cat, can you do you mind?
I don't mind.
I do. Literally, he's never been this active.
Nathan's got a new cat called
he's
Muesli.
So cute, but he's a menace. But basically, if we're entering into a new age, we need to know what like the base... Of this game is, right? And when we're doing all of these far-flung things like Final Fantasy and Spider-Man and things like that and SpongeBob, well, we're going to get into it. You need to kind of have the other side of that, right? Because a lot of people's concerns with the announcements is that half of the next Standard rotation is going to be Universes Beyond and only half of it is going to be original Magic IP worlds. To the detriment of even pushing back a certain sets out of the year that would have been, you know, Magic Originals. So it kind of almost feels like the necessity is to ensure that what they're communicating as what Magic is clear, is broad, but it also sticks around for a while. It's consistent, and the fact that we've got a 5-year legality on Foundations means that for the next half decade, this is what they want you to think of Magic when you think of Magic in its base foundation. Which I think is, necessary.
I kind of think that's all right. And like Origins as well, like did a really good job of setting up the sort of Gatewatch era Planeswalkers and being like, these are the characters moving forward. So don't get me wrong, I completely understand it. I think it's always just a little bit funny when they kind of go, we're drawing a line in the sand in a game that for every other facet of its entire identity is like a continuation of something.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey-ho, I think it's going to be all right. I'm not sure I love the blue, neon blue, neon pink sort of... packaging,
right? Yeah, that it felt like Neon Dynasty. What's it called? Not Splush Art. What's it called? Slush Art. Yeah. Right. This one kind of went. We like that kind of aesthetic.
Strange.
Just do it again.
It's not. Yeah, it's very sort of like it's not very magic. Those colours. Anyway,
do you think they'll change the colour with each because obviously they'll be printing this for a while? Do you think with each print run they might go, now we're going to do orange and green?
I think that would be a level of commitment and money that they're just probably not willing to spend. They've already got it.
Print a bunch and go cool. Just roll it out in time.
Yeah. So we're doing Jumpstart specifically. So Foundations is coming out with a Jumpstart set alongside it. Jumpstart's kind of been off and on with a few different sets. Obviously, the original Jumpstart was kind of a standalone product in its own right. And what we like about Jumpstart, I think we mentioned this in our last episode, and indeed we've been talking about this like previously, is that Jumpstart, I think it does a very good job of going, here is a core idea of a mechanic, because obviously they have to have these different booster packs that you smush together. So this is a +1/+1 counter strategy, because that's the theme of this Jumpstart pack. but they also build in just enough like leeway and give over so that it can interact with other strategies to kind of make coherence across a whole set.
And it's also strong enough to kind of stand in its own right as
Yeah.
well sometimes, yeah.
And we're talking about the legendary creatures specifically of the specifically Jumpstart set of Foundations today. We're going niche within a niche, because these are obviously like the sort of touchstones, if you like, of all these different strategies, and they have used Jumpstart product in the past, especially the original Jumpstart, to not only introduce sort of legendaries around mechanics and themes that maybe haven't had enough built around them in other sets, like Bruvak the Grandiloquent was like the quintessential mill legendary, which people were asking for. They've also used it how they used to use things in ancillary product like commander sets to bring in either completely new characters from places that we haven't been to for a long time, or characters from things like flavor text or sort of side bits of lore that we've never seen actually represented on a card. Which again is what they used to do all the time in the ancillary product until they started making everything based around the sets that they were based around.
Yeah, it turns out Magic's a really, really, really big game, and it's nice to have some throwbacks, you know, some references. Be like, hey, remember when we used to actually like put flavor text? We had space for flavor text on cards, and so we put named characters on it, which would take up a whole extra line we can't really fit in anymore. Well, here's that character now.
But core sets also used to fill that role, because even though core sets were Chandelar or whatever the fuck, like as the kind of half lore that they stamped on it, it did open them up to be like, hey, here's a bunch of reprints we need. Also, here's this kind of slightly new flavour and take on stuff that when core sets come in and out, and then core sets came back in, but it had to be so heavily themed around fucking Ajani 100 times for whatever reason. I mean, he's in this, you know. But
this is the only place you can just put a bunch of things for a bunch of places all together and it not feel wrong. It's not like you're bending over backwards to make it happen. So, I think that's good. I think it's interesting to see when the next Jumpstart will happen again, if we do get another one in the near future, because obviously Foundations is 5 years, and this is tied to Foundations. I don't think that they'll keep this around for 5 years and not do anything else. And I think there's only a few that seem to be completely like, why was this made?
Yeah.
Most of them either have something like it's the first time this tribe has got a proper legend, or this person's been on this particular cycle of flavor text or something, or even just a, hey, cool, this is really nice effect that we wanted to put into the game. There are some that I'm just like, all right. I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that was true the last time as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's true with every Magic set. I mean, guess what? This is all subjective, because fucking everything is.
Sure.
I don't want to point out the obvious, right? Someone thought it was a good idea. The other wrinkle in this as well, there's a couple of wrinkles. As we go through, we'll probably talk more about the legends that are new. Less about the legends that are returning, because they've reprinted a few of these legends as well. But there's also new artworks. They've done anime art treatments for many of these, both old and new legendary creatures.
I feel like it might even be the majority seem to
Yes,
get
it
that
does.
kind of hardline, comic-y kind
But
of look.
not all of them. And also, some of these are going to be printed in the main Foundations booster packs, not just Jumpstart. But again, not all of them. So even the returning legends, we might have a bit of artwork to talk about, or the fact of why is this here and not elsewhere. We might have to do, especially with the new ones, I reckon we do need to probably read the card in its entirety.
Yeah.
There are 56 legendary creatures in Jumpstart that they were at time of recording, which is the 1st of November, they finally released the last couple of cards for this. Because I didn't even see Zada and Vito. I actually don't know when they were released, but they weren't on the list when I looked up last night.
I think with Planeswalkers it goes up to 65.
Yes. Are we doing Planeswalkers?
No, it's more that I put in Legendary instead of specific
Oh, so right.
legendary
Well, they've
creature.
also got things like Teferi's Ageless Insight as well.
Oh, good point. Yeah, fair enough. That is,
Yeah.
literally right here. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's not all just dudes.
It's 56 creatures, like, to be specific. So we've got a lot to talk about.
I've got it so interestingly because I didn't think we were going to talk that much about the old legends having new artwork.
Well, no,
I've done it by release date and ascending, so I actually have it so all of the new ones are listed, and then all of the odd ones.
Oh, interesting. I've got it by alphabetical.
Okay, let's go alphabetically.
Are you sure?
Uno momento.
We don't have to talk a lot about the old ones. It might just be nice to go, oh, they gave him a new art. Move on.
There we go. Cool. Yeah, I got it.
Sweet. Firstly, we're going to start with a reprint.
Yes.
So we got Adeline, Resplendent Cathar. There's no point reading. She's a reprint. She's from the latest Innistrad set. New anime artwork as well.
Technically, isn't she from the second to last Innistrad set because she came out in the werewolf one, not the vampire one?
Did she? I thought she came out in Crimson Veil.
I don't know. That's why I asked the
Bah!
question.
Oh no, it is Midnight Hunt. It is right, and then in Innistrad double feature.
So just to literally be so pedantic, it hurts.
There we go. Well, new anime art. She looks cool. Cool character. Moving on. Anep, Vizier of Hazaret. 3 and a red, legendary creature, Jackal Warrior. I'm not going to say legendary creature. They're all legendary creatures.
Legendary creatures, yeah.
Trample. You may exert Anep, Vizier of Hazaret when it attacks. When you do, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. So it's Impulse Draw, 4/2. Impulse Draw with Exert, which is a mechanic from Amonkhet.
Yep.
Anime artwork only, it seems, for Anep, Vizier of Hazaret. Or is it? Or is it just regular artwork? Because it's not a Japanese
Doesn't
artist.
have a secondary artwork by the looks of it.
Oh, there we go. So Anep is from Amonkhet and does have some previous lore. So Anep was a quotation on flavor text for Arn Crop Crasher. Hesitation breeds dissension. To be worthy of the next life, you may never look back. Anep, Vizier of Hazaret. So there you go.
So question, I guess, is this kind of came with Foundations naturally anyway, which is that the timeline is transient with these, right? It could be kind of from any point in Magic, which, yay, good, because it means we can get some stuff from the past, some stuff from the future. Nay, bad, because unless they tell us specifically where we kind of have to, like, figure it out, and there might be some characters that I'm going to be like, I would really like to know when this is.
I think this is definitely stronger in the main Foundation set, which we'll look at next, where there are some characters that absolutely are not what they were before, or after, indeed.
I guess this is kind of, it's easy to put because, it's harder to put for this because Hazaret was the only god that survived, through the events of Amonkhet. So, sorry, spoilers. So we don't know whether this is now after, and Hazaret's out on, their pilgrimage to, restore some kind of normality in Amonkhet, or if this is before, and this is throughout, the trial process before the Hour of Devastation actually occurs and everything. So it's uncertain. It's also interesting that this isn't accredited to be a Japanese artist like the other anime art styles, so it might not be an official anime. It might just be highly stylized.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not. I think this might be the first legendary Jackal. I think.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, he's gonna look it up. Legendary Jackal. It's the only one.
Oh, it's the only legendary Jackal.
So if you really, really like Jackals, good, because most of them are red anyway, now you can have your Jackal deck. Not very powerful, I don't think. But hey, it's cool.
Probably more powerful than werewolves. Moving on!
Nice.
Ophelia, Viper Whisperer. 1 and a black, legendary creature. God damn it, I did it again. Gorgon Assassin.
Yes,
Sick,
indeed.
love a Gorgon. I mean, it's a bit typist, isn't it? Seemingly all Gorgons are assassins.
I think we shouldn't get into typist conversations.
Death Touch. Whenever Ophelia attacks, you may pay 1 and a hybrid black-green. If you do, create a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch. 4 and a black. Until end of turn, whenever 1 or more Gorgons and or snakes you control deal damage or combat to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up, 1/3. So we've got a snake, Gorgon, typal commander, which I like. I like it when they group things together. Many of our early episodes are talking about how types are a little bit nebulous.
Batching really helps make. Don't get me wrong, people have been asking for a Gorgon deck for a really long time, and this would have fit perfectly. The fact that you now get to add in all of your Skull Winders, your Orin Vipers, your things like your Ambush Viper, that's really, really cool. I think this is actually a deck that kind of is... It's not some random 6-drop, whatever ability commander either. It's a low drop that gets out early, starts a game plan making 1/1 black death touch. This seems like a strong card. I feel like this could really tie that tribal together. And you're not then having to play Sisters of Stone Death or whatever, which is I think 9 mana or something stupid.
Yeah.
So it's actually a nice way to get that deck going early.
Ooh, it's a 2-mana commander.
It's a 2-mana commander. She's very cool. I really like her. The anime style kind of betrays a very easy to see where it is. Is it Ravnica? It looks a bit Ravnica.
I was just about.
Right?
I mean, so it's all cityscape. It looks pretty Prague-ish. Her Gorgon style, because Gorgons across the multiverse are actually quite different, and some of them, like the Greek mythology ones of. Come on, man, where are they from? What is it?
What, Greece?
No, but what's the plane?
Oh, Theros.
Thank you, Christ. That really dropped out my head.
I'm too busy doing...
Yeah. They have the traditional snake hair, whereas the Ravnican ones just have tendrils that look pretty snaky.
Yeah, so this looks like it.
So, the thing that is throwing me ever so slightly is the red planet/moon in the background.
Let's not get into the celestial aspects of planes. This could be Fiora, right? Because I think Fiora has a giant... Does there's not a giant moon in the back of one of the legends, like Lycia or whatever
interesting.
it is? I think maybe.
I didn't know that Fiora had Gorgons. Maybe they do.
Maybe they do. Yeah. Who knows?
Tell us.
Who knows? We can almost like narrow it down to where it isn't rather than where it specifically is. But yeah, this is very cool. Again, making there are quite a few of these throughout of where here's suddenly a commander that you can actually use to play this tribe that you weren't able to play properly before.
Averna, the Chaos Bloom reprint, new artwork, obviously, pretty cool.
I like the fact that this is one of those artworks of where this is a green, blue, and red card. On this artwork, I've got green, I've got blue, and I've got red. Yay!
But aren't they're elementals, magic.
It also has way more of like an outfit than I'd have expected.
It looks like they're from Breath of the Wild.
A little bit, yeah.
It looks like something from Hyrule.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Right.
Moving on to a new character, technically. Braulios, the Fears Band. Fears spelled P-H-E-R-E-S. 3 green for a legendary creature, Centaur Scout. I fucking love centaurs. I don't know why. I have no affinity for them other than the fact that I just really like them in Magic.
I think you really wanted there to be I'm going to check now. I know it isn't the only legendary because there was the one that traps your druids, I think, as well.
There's the Stone Brow as well.
And there's the one from... Yeah, I think we got
there's a
the
few
angry
legendary
guy from the latest Ravnica set
and
well,
also
right?
Nakia. There's a lot of legendary centaurs.
There are 6 different legendary...
Which is a lot for an underrepresented tribe.
Yeah.
Braulios, the Fears Band. Power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever Braulios, the Fears Band... They didn't shorten the name. They do sometimes now. Attacks. Draw a card.
Usually say whenever this attacks, right?
Yeah. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Your claim to this land is tenuous as my tolerance for your presence on it. Braulios has appeared in a flavor text previously. Centaur Battlemaster. A herd is only as strong as its weakest. Our weakest just killed the 3rd Minotaur Raider today. Badass! He is from Theros.
This is like the does Theros doesn't have elves, right? These are like the elves of Theros,
yeah.
Right? They have that same kind of vibe of land ley lining.
Yes.
You know, don't cross our borders. We're as strong as that. Your claim to this land is as tenuous as my tolerance for your presence. Like, that's a very elvish thing of like, get out my woods. Get out my woods.
I quite like... I mean, it's fun... Oh, God, this is a whole video in itself. Who are the elves of what plane? Because I would argue Theros, almost all of their humanoid races could be some aspect of classical elves.
Satyrs, I guess, have that kind of reverie, mischievous kind of feeling.
Merfolk are just water elves.
They are true. Goblins are just ugly elves.
Oh...
I didn't expect that to strike such a nerve with you.
Braulios is cool.
Does bring up the question, anatomically... Horse legs has boobs. Surely the boobs would be on the underside, right? I don't know, man. Like this centaur anatomy is a weird fucking thing.
A 2 a.m. stoner fantasy conversation.
Yeah, it's still weird.
Tale as old as time.
It's like when they do Leonin and they make them really chesty. I'm like, please, let's just ignore the fact that Leonin have like sexuality and gender and stuff like that. Like it's weird.
Well, I mean, Magic doesn't ignore it. There'll be one later on that we'll have to tackle it.
Sure.
Anything else to say on Braulios?
No.
He's cool.
She's cool. Is it she? Is it he?
He, I think.
Oh, so no boobs.
No, but I thought you were just.
Well, actually, he looks a little bit. He's very himbo, isn't he?
Yes,
he's giving me Tyvar vibes.
He's very Tyvar vibes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Handsome boy.
Moving on.
Brigone.
Brigone.
I
don't think it's Brigone.
I mean, again, they're from Theros, so maybe it could be Brigone.
It could be Brigone.
Soldier of Meletis, 1 and a white for a legendary creature, human soldier. Vigilance with heroic. Everyone loves heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Brigone, Soldier of Meletis, put a 1/1 counter on Brigone. Tap. Remove a 1/1 counter from Brigone. Draw a card. Gods, guide my hand. And they are riding, in the artwork, a fucking chimera.
Oh, it is a chimera. Is
that
a goat? Oh, I didn't see the lion in the background.
The lion, the goat, the wings.
Fucking great, awesome.
Sick.
Super cool.
Yeah.
This is giving me... What's his name from the fucking... When you fly around as an angel... Jesus. I swear he's in like Super Smash Brothers.
Jesus doesn't fly around like an angel.
He's in Super Smash Brothers as well. His name's like Pip or Pick or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Pit.
Yeah, the angel guy from that. That is a great game.
Very old school Game Boy game.
Yeah, this is giving me that vibes massively. Really cool anime style artwork. Big fan. Not super powerful, but teaches a really really cool easy mechanic. You know, white drawing cards in a fair way.
Lots of 2-stage abilities.
This is the thing that I said before we were recording, that the reason I like a lot of these, and you can compare them to some of the older reprints, is that they have the setup at the top and the payoff underneath. And arguably people have said over the years that these are the kind of commanders that are kind of breaking commander because they just do everything. It's like, yeah, but you kind of want to make a commander deck function, you need there to be both sides of the card easily accessible, or both sides of the playstyle easily accessible. The thing that benefits from what you're doing in the regular gameplay, and then a way to like get you some benefit off of it. You know, so having this thing where it triggers whenever you do a thing, and then now that you've done the thing, gain a benefit. This 2-stage is a story mechanically. For a lot of characters that don't necessarily have a lot of story on like in the lore, so you actually learn that you get a gameplay feel of them, and I like this kind of push-pull. It's not just, hey, it does one thing. Like Averna it does a cool thing, gets lands when you cascade. That's the only thing it does. So it doesn't actually explain as much of the character as it does to have the 2 different abilities. Obviously, for some other than others, some mechanics are more flavourful. But in general, it creates a gameplay pattern that is really good for teaching players how synergy works, and then how to register the payoffs that happen afterwards.
Bragone is on 3 other cards in the flavor text. Seems to be sort of like they're giving advice to other soldiers about the different things happening on Theros, like flummoxed Cyclops. A Cyclops thinks slowly but strikes quickly. Try to keep it thinking. So yeah, pretty cool character.
Very cool card.
Moving on, Brimaz, King of Oreskos, pre-Phyrexianization.
Yeah.
Reprint. Needed reprint as well. Brimaz was getting up there in price.
Speaking of characters that look like they're from Breath of the Wild.
Yes. Cat Soldier, new artwork, very cool. Next up we have 2 cards, technically. We have 2 different artworks for the Brothers Yamazaki reprint.
Do you know what's really annoying is they could have, just for the fun of it, just put like a random like punctuation in the name and then just put partner in the bottom of the card.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Still, everyone's going to rule 0 this. It doesn't matter. I hope that in every pack that you get of this, you get 2 of them. If you don't, that's a fucking miss.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool. And it does the polyptych panoramic thing of where the 2 artworks next to each other make one artwork. Very cool.
Cleon, Merry Champion. A human soldier, double strike with heroic. Lots of Theros cards in this set.
Lots of Theros cards in this set, yeah.
I wonder if they're hitting all those fan favourite planes, maybe.
I also think that we're not going to be likely going back to Theros for a fair while, so it's kind of get in while the getting's good.
Whenever you cast a spell that targets Cleon, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until the end of your next turn. Another impulse draw. So obviously we are going to see a bunch of the same themes again and again because it's Jumpstart.
Yeah.
Let us dance round the funeral pyres of our foes. Fucking creep. All right.
Is she basically teabagging?
Yeah, she's fortnighting around.
The Therosian form of teabagging.
I mean, she looks like she's got this big horned helmet. She looks like she's going to kick everyone's ass with this flaming, like little spear thing.
It's just a merry champion as well. It's just kind of nice. Like she's just jubilant.
Why is this not a satyr? Seems very
good question. Yeah, again, missed opportunity. There were a couple of like, this is your chance to randomly make something not a human. Why didn't you?
Yeah. Ooh.
Get out of the
Usually
rubbish.
in the recycling.
No. Hey. Hey. Don't be going in the bathroom. Come on. There we go, little skip. Otherwise I'll lose you forever.
Oh. That's
Sorry.
so cute. Let's see, who else we got? Right, we've got our first of a run of legendaries that are just... This is a really strange theme they put in here.
The funny thing is, these all kind of came out at the same time. So when I went onto Reddit, I was like bombarded with what I'm only going to call is a waifu menu tasting board. Like, it's...
That's so dark. Sinette, Jelly Drover, 3 and a blue for a human wizard. When Sinette Jelly Drover, that's a great name, enters or dies, create a 1/1 blue jellyfish creature token with flying. Creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. So it's a jellyfish and flying type all commander.
So yeah, I don't think there's enough jellyfish to make and a lot of them don't naturally fly anyway. So
oh, funny that.
Great. This is very confused. I like it that this is the kind of commander where I'm talking purely mechanical because we're going to get into the flavor implications in a little bit. But mechanically, this idea that it plays really well with white packs that typically have flyers. It plays obviously well with blue packs that have flyers and nothing else really going on. It also plays really well with black and sacrifice effects and reanimation effects because you keep getting to bring back that jellyfish, or keep getting her to come back, and with each cycle you make 2/1/1 flyers, which then become 2/2 flyers, which is quite a strong limited play pattern. Where is she?
Yeah.
Where is the... Oh, also, we forgot. Once you build up an immunity to their deadly venom, they're really quite cuddly.
Yeah.
Now, you said my insinuation of waifu menu board was dark. The implications with this could go very dark very quickly, of this lady who likes to rub up on jellyfish a bit too much. Should we move on?
I feel like I need to cut that, but I'm not gonna.
Danitha!
Danitha, Capuchin Paragon. Danitha's such a badass
Looking
character.
probably like Magali levels of hot.
Yeah. Well, didn't Magali Villeneuve do the original art? Pretty sure.
I think she did, actually, yeah.
I've beaten far better than you in far greater numbers, so go ahead, draw your swords. Kick ass!
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Chris Rallis.
Oh, damn it. Sorry,
Yeah,
Chris.
it's okay, but this is one of the prime examples of... I said this before we started recording, that a lot of these anime art styles aren't reimaginings of the character. Like, you'd have to be like, oh, that's Danitha Capuchin. These are artworks of where you look and go, yeah, that's just a reskin of the Danitha Capuchin card. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because it creates... The visual identity is still there. It doesn't take away from the more photorealistic kind of brush line art kind of style that we've seen from Chris Rallis, but it does give an opportunity to see her in cool anime style. But again, very recognisable from the other side of the board. You don't go, who the fuck's this random anime character? You go, oh, I know exactly who that is. Wow, she looks cool in that design.
That's fair. I mean, I don't know if I am as jazzed about it just being sort of a shot for shot as you are, but I'm not going to say that your reasons are wrong. So yeah, I'll leave that there.
Thank you for.
I don't know if I have the
jazzed.
brain power to be like, yeah, about that. You know,
This is not an argument you're willing to fight.
no. Dionys, Elvish Arc Druid. This is one of the most busted uncommon cards ever printed.
This card is
considering
insane.
the last 30 years of Magic.
I have a Marwyn deck, and my lord, the things this card's going to do in that
3
deck.
and a green for an elf druid. Funny that. Wouldn't it be fucking sick if they put Elvish Arc Druid and they put something stupid like Elf Warrior or some bollocks?
Yeah. Jellyfish Berserker.
Elves you control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it and put a 1/1 counter on it. This ability triggers only once each turn.
Per elf, by the way, that is. That's not like... It's not like, oh, you only get to untap one of your elves. No.
Every elf
Whether
taps
they
for mana.
attack or they tap for mana, or it's Lathril tapping to do her fucking losing life ability, you can just go, cool. With Wirewood Symbiote and a mana positive elf, this goes infinite.
Yeah.
You just bounce the elf, replay it off the mana. And then you just get to do the tappy thingy again. It's insane.
My people are like the great Manigoth trees. We've seen ice, flood, invasions, and wars, yet our roots remain strong. Dionys is from Chandelier. She's on flavor texts from Manaweft, Sliver, Prized Unicorn, Oakform, and Windstorm, saying elvish things.
Elvish things.
Yeah,
yeah
elfy things about green stuff.
Yeah, if it was on Theros, there'd be fucking centauri things, you know.
Yeah.
We know. I think it's interesting that they could have just put one word in this to make it like the ultimate, like, yeah, and that's the Dionys, the Elvish Archdruid, you know? Get all of these other ones out of here, because obviously Elvish Archdruid really combos with this other Elvish Archdruid. Who knew? Subtle anime artwork as well, not super in your face. It gives me very Ghibli vibes.
Yeah, it's a cool pose.
Yeah, really, really cool.
Evereth, Viceroy of Plunder.
What a name.
Very
Probably
cool.
Best name, I think, so far.
2 and a black for a vampire soldier. Flying. This one's a bit wordy. Sacrifice another creature or artifact. Put a 1/1 counter on Evereth, Viceroy of Plunder. If the sacrificed permanent was a treasure, Evereth gains lifelink until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So, sack a treasure, she gets lifelink and +1/+1. When Evereth dies, you may pay 1, a hybrid black-red. When you do, Evereth deals damage equal to its power to each opponent, 2/2. Sacrifice treasures, make her really big, make her do damage, she has lifelink.
Yeah.
Kind of all the stuff.
I love all of this card, apart from the fact that you could have just changed Vampire to Pirate and Lifelink to Menace, and I'd have been very happy.
Well, but why not Vampire, Pirate, Soldier?
Probably because they didn't want to fit that in there, I guess. You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of Signet Jelly Drover.
Yeah, well, quite.
Didn't want to
I
fit
mean,
that in
I
there.
like this. I think she's a cool design as well. She looks pretty badass.
The artwork's
all of the vampire
fantastic.
conquistadors are cool.
Yeah, this is... Oh, sorry, one moment. Crime.
Crime. Oh no, the crime is in traffic.
Oh, it's stuck. Crime is stuck for a bit.
So, I don't know. We have a lot of American listeners, and obviously each country has a different way of like how the etiquette for like police and traffic. The British etiquette is going, don't fucking pay attention.
Stop.
God.
Go around, I guess.
You've got sirens. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In Germany, they all move to the sides and create a channel down the middle.
Yep. We're not so efficient.
fuck.
Yeah, the
Anyway.
Germans have it one. So yeah, it's cool to see the conquistadors from Ixalan, or sorry, specifically from Torrizon. Really like her. I wonder if this is a name drop that we'll see end up going in the future, because obviously we're going back over towards Torrizon, and we're going to get a few more Because like, we'll need some diversity to the vampires in that set, right? They can't all just be Orzovian. Like, because with most of the vampires we've seen are the soldiers that have gone abroad. You know? Like,
they are part of the Church of the Dust.
Like, it's almost like we've seen the soldiers at fucking Normandy Beach, right? Like, those aren't necessarily typical British guys.
Or, I see what you're saying, 100%. Because we had the other vampire turned pirate from Kaman's
Donadades, or whatever his name is,
And he changed his colour into Sultai?
No, he's Grixis.
Grixis. But he dropped the white.
Yeah.
Evereth's dropped the white and gained red. So I actually think this is a conquistador turned pirate because they've gotten rid of the religion aspect. Like, I don't fucking care about the church anymore. I want to be a pirate.
And it's also Viceroy of Plunder, right?
Yeah,
it's almost like, I guess she's probably just come back and been like, hey guys, I know blood's cool and everything, but guess what else is cool? Money, mate. So yeah, very cool. I hope that we see her when we go back.
Famulus.
I think it's Fumulus.
That's much better than what I was saying.
Come on.
Oh, cat's on the sofa. This cat, by the way, is about the size of an American football, and it just can't even.
It's so cute. Sorry, I promise not to get distracted by it. Cool.
Vampire insect. Another vampire. I didn't realise a vampire.
This is what I mean. Why isn't Everett just a fucking pirate?
Aren't also insects vampires?
Oh, that's a really... Yeah, I guess. Well, no,
They all drink some sort of blood, don't they?
Do
I thought that's
they?
what... Well, flying ones do, don't they?
I think flies just normally food.
Well, they're just food vampires.
Yeah.
Aren't we all food?
You're just food vampires. You fucking numpty. Honestly.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. Flying Death Touch. Whenever a player sacrifices a non-soaking creature, create a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. Whenever an insect, leech, slug, or worm, the fact that those are all different is dumb.
Yeah.
You control attacks. Defending player loses a life, you gain a life.
New
2/2.
new 4-typal batching incoming. Creepers. We're just calling them creepers.
Again, we like batching, but
Yeah.
the fact that those are all separate things is wild.
The thing that gets me for this card, right, is that obviously we had Zask in the last Jumpstart product, which is like the Golgari, the green creature with a black hybrid activated ability, obviously allowing for all insects in black and green to be played within the deck. This obviously is fantastic within that deck, but it's a shame that this is the card that batches and gives you this cool ability, and I'm sure that there are probably not that many leeches or slugs that are outside of black, but there are certainly quite a few worms and insects that are outside of black, and it would be nice that if it could have just gone, hey, in this set where we put random hybrid abilities on things, why didn't you just put it on this one?
Yeah.
You know, put a Jund one on, or a green and red one on, and then suddenly Fumulus is a Jund commander. I guess the problem is you then wouldn't be able to play it in Zask. I'm sure they argue things from both directions, and the cleanest thing is just to go, make it monocolor.
Yeah.
Because there is Zask, and if you want to include all of these things in your Zask deck, now you can put Fumulus in as well, and then it gives a little bit of extra breadth to it. There's another card that we'll talk about a little later that does this kind of a little bit more egregiously. It's cool. I like it. Insect Tribal, I think people like that as well. Again, it has this cool ability of where no matter what you do to make your opponent sack things, you get a benefit, and then you benefit off of that benefit with having everyone losing life equally. So it feels like it scales. 4 mana, I think, is just about the good spot for a commander. Death Touch flying, really can't complain. And it's, Rhino Beetle? I don't think there's
It's like a flying Rhino Beetle.
Yeah, which is quite cool.
General Crete, the Bolt Bringer. 2 and a red
So cool.
for a goblin soldier.
Super Saiyan Goblin, man.
Yeah. Whenever one or more goblins you control attack, create a 1/1 red goblin creature that's tapped and attacking. Where have we seen this kind of shit before?
Wait. Let's wait for the next ability.
Whenever another creature you control enters, General Crete the Bolt Bringer deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Get in my Krenko deck.
I mean, it's Perforos.
It's Perforos in goblin form.
2/2. To cross swords with her is a shockingly bad idea. She's carrying a lightning sword.
That's the first, pun that we've had so far.
And it's good.
You don't mind that?
I think
Shockingly
that's
bad?
good.
Okay, good. Yeah. No, okay.
Also, on a goblin, I think goblin cards should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. I think they've missed a trick with goblins entirely. In Warhammer 40k, orcs are seen as, the joke clan, right?
Yeah.
Even their rule set is, janky and meant to be stupid.
Yeah.
They should have just made goblins the fucking Unfinity. Do you know, they should have just made them
Yeah.
the and then you play goblins, and it's we're going to do wacky
It's
coin
also
flip
kind
shit.
of funny, as a very slight side note, Warhammer Space Orcs are the most goblin-y of goblins, and yet they didn't make a Goblin Warhammer deck, which would have been... I guess they probably would have had to call them orcs, but I wouldn't. I'll just still call them goblins anyway.
Well, yeah, because we have orcs in Magic.
We have orcs in Magic, yeah. Where's this guy from, apart from looking like from the Zelda universe again? Or she, sorry. Well, he gives me massive Link vibes.
Yeah, I mean... there's like a bazaar in the background.
Is she maybe the prettiest goblin yet?
It's because it's anime.
Yeah, that doesn't change what my question.
I don't know. We'll have to look through. There's like a bazaar in the background, like a sort of like.
I know. This is Ravnica. She's a legionnaire.
Oh yeah, like the breastplate. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's boring.
But the fact she's a general in the Boris Legion.
Is this? This isn't.
You don't think it's the Legion, the Goblin Legion? No, because I'm pretty sure he's a dude.
Yeah, just totally different Goblin vibe as well.
Yeah, very very different. And we've done the check, right? There isn't any flavor text or anything for this.
No,
for this little
not
guy.
that I can find.
Okay, that's a shame. Well, maybe we'll see. She seems great. Again, really really cool, powerful ability as well. Very nice.
The next three I'm just going to run through because they're all reprints. We've got Golta Primal Hunger, Giada Font of Hope, and Gorex the Tomb Shell. Giada seemingly has like 5,000 new arts in Foundations.
Many artworks.
They're all okay. I mean, they're all great, obviously.
So she has 2 new ones in Foundations. The full art and the regular artwork are both new.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a new anime artwork, very much inspired from her original New Capenna artwork. But then New Capenna, she already had an anime artwork alternative as well as the alternate artwork in the showcase frame.
God, they really wanted to push her.
She only had 2 appearances, and each appearance has had 3 different artworks.
I think Ravnica as a setting, just as to touch on, not Ravnica, New Capenna as a setting. That just goes to show how fucking similar they are. Is better off now that the Angels are back, because Art Deco Angels is a much cooler visual. I'm sorry to say, is a much cooler visual than a lot of the stuff that we got. And New Capenna
feathery angels are fine and dandy, but like I want to see white mana manifest in more ways than just bird feathers.
I think all of like the sharply dressed vampires and the demon mob bosses and everything was great. There wasn't enough cut through for like this particular aspect of New Capenna looks amazing, and that was the Angels. So when they came back in one of the new Giada artworks, she's got like the big Art Deco wings. You're like, fuck me.
Yeah, like Angel of Emancipation or whatever it was. What's the 3-color, the band one? I was just like, I need to know more about this. This seems really, really cool. And then we kind of got a bit more of it when we went back in the stories for Mum. That's
what I'm saying. It's better. It's almost better post Phyrexian Invasion.
I agree. And then this particular artwork by Hisashi Momose. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. This is probably her coolest artwork. She's holding what's it called? The Halo sword. What was it called? Luxior,
yeah.
And her, I don't know if her wings are specifically, because obviously she's not a true angel. It's kind of like a representation, but it's manifest in the form of stained glass windows.
Yeah.
And good God, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah. New character, move on. Gornog the Red Reaper.
Very Scottish.
Minotaurs could be Scottish. 2 in a red, yeah. Minotaur warrior. Haste, cowards can't block warriors. Yeah! Cowards are back, baby! Whenever one or more warriors you control attack a player, target creature that player controls becomes a coward. Attacking warriors you control get +X/+O, where X is the number of cowards your opponents control to 3. Sick.
No space for flavor text because you don't need it. Do you know what the best flavor text a card can have? Cowards can't block warriors.
It's great. It's great. I like naming conventions for Minotaurs because you have like, Morag, Gornog, it's all very cool.
Nahab doesn't necessarily fit that.
Nahab. I don't know where Gornog is from.
We've got we could probably work it out if we went through all of the different Minotaurs of different planes and then compared like the bangles around his horns.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think he's Zendikar.
I think he's Theros.
I think he's Theros as well.
It looks like
the fact he's called the Red Reaper, like in a plane that's more about creating legends and stories. There were no Minotaurs in Kaldheim, were there?
No, weirdly.
Yeah, I guess they didn't want the flexed over because it kind of is from the same kind of era of old ancient civilization.
Yeah.
It feels very Therosian, and for the Minotaur guy having a field day, he's got a new Minotaur legend to go in his deck, and I think it's a really cool ability.
Very cool.
Cowards can't block warriors. Of course they can't.
Herska, Sweet Tooth. Not the Sweet Tooth. 2 in a green. Bear.
Just bear.
Whenever Hursker Sweet-Tooth attacks, create a food token. Whenever you gain life, you may pay a green-white hybrid. When you do, target creature gets +X/+N on turn with X the amount of life you gained. 3/3.
This is a bear with bangs, mate.
It's bear with bangs with its hand in a big old fucking pot of honey.
With
Bumbleflies.
Bumblebees.
Bumblebees.
But
Yeah.
what did we call them before? Did we call them anything? Bumblebees? I can't remember what we called them.
Where's this from? Gold Meadow? No.
No. This was in the flavor text. This was time to sleep or something like that. Give me a moment.
Yeah, where are the bumblebees from?
I'm pretty sure it was Modern Horizons, so I don't think we're necessarily going to find out. But let me sleep in the rain.
Sheep. Bee,
Food coma.
MTG. Food
Busy
coma.
as a bumble sheep. There we go. Is the fairy expression meaning asleep, and it's from Eldraine.
Are we saying this thing's from Eldraine?
I guess so. I mean, because if you look in the back, in the bee slightly in the back of Food Coma is almost exactly the same as the bee that we see in the
this
artwork.
Pink, hairy bear with locks and bangs.
With bangs and almost like a little ribbon in their hair.
It's like a little flower.
Yeah, it's cute.
Is from Eldraine.
Apparently from Eldraine. Well, we don't know. We haven't seen the full extent of the wilds, have we?
That is...
Also, this is an anime
horrifying.
artwork, right? So
yes.
She wouldn't look like this. Also, I'm gender assuming here. Absolutely could be a dude. Hursker. I'm not going to presume either way, mate. But yeah. I mean, also food. Very Eldraine. Gaining life. Very Eldraine. Like, this would fit with a lot of the Eldraine. This could be an Eldraine pack, for example, with a bunch of the green effects and white effects of create foods. Cool. It's a food commander that isn't obnoxious and hobbity. If you want to avoid Lord of the Rings, want to make a food deck, now you've got an option.
Yeah. Izareth, the Awakener, reprint. Still looking fine as fuck.
Again, very similar. Even has the vulture.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Evora, Insatiable Air. 1 and a red for a vampire warrior. Trample when Evora, Insatiable Air, enters, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. They're going really hard on all the different types of tokens. Foundations, I guess.
Yeah.
Whenever you discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on Evora.
So we've got weirdly, because I guess Clue was recent enough with murders, but we've now got a food commander, a blood token commander, ish. It still triggers off of discard as well.
Treasures,
and then you've got the treasure commander as well.
No lore to speak of for Evora. Being a vampire, they're a bit green vampire, but I sort of feel like they could be Sengiri in some way.
Does look Sengirian. Could also maybe just be a stylized version of Innistrad, because we haven't actually seen like an Innistrad-y vampire yet.
I don't know.
I guess it'll be interesting to see if they do theme the packs not only mechanically but flavorfully. Do they go like, this is a pack from... Because obviously Innistrad has a bunch of discard effects, has a bunch of blood token synergy, so you could just put all of that into this pack and be like, this is an Innistrad pack. This is what Innistrad looks like in a red pack.
So no actual lore for Evora. However, there is Evora in the game already. Talking about like they're running out of names. Celestial Purge is an instant. And the flavor text is, they say only the good die young. Obviously, you're one of the exceptions. Delroba, Cleric of Evora Gate.
Yeah, that's such a random crossover. Yeah, of course. They've just clearly gone... apparently we used those letters in that order in a thing before. I mean, I think we're going to get to another one where I'm going to be like, okay, cool. Yeah, we will. This isn't the first time that there's been like overlap that clearly is just, there's only so many words in English.
Yeah. Alphabetically, there's another run. There's a quite large run of reprints. So we got Kadama of the West Tree, Krenko, Tin Street Kingpin, Lathlis Dragon Queen, Marin the Nurturer, Machaos the Lunarch, Mohu Law Companion, and Nabarn Dean of Iteration. Looks like Marwyn and Machaos do not get new artworks. Or Krenko.
I'd really loved a fucking anime fucking Marwyn.
Yeah, I'm sure
my
you
deck.
would.
Lathlis gets a very cool non-super ready artwork. She looks way cooler in this artwork. Far more menacing.
I think so. I might pick this one up for my polymorph deck.
Yeah, very cool. Kerenko, I think, didn't get a new artwork.
No.
He's still got his new design where they've got almost like pug noses instead of having like the long creepy witch noses.
Yeah.
Mowu is one of the few artworks that is very, very different in terms of it's clearly a very different premise of where it is, because Mowu Law Companion is like jacked up, super studs, pectorals, whatever they're fucking called, muscles, chest muscles, all flexed out in his normal iteration. Here he's on a little cushion in front of the fire, and he's even got the ball in the artwork. I mean, you can still see he's muscly as fuck and rip your shit out, but he's cute and sleepy.
XL bully vibes.
Yeah, right.
Cool. Nazar, the Velvet Fang. 3 and a black for a Vampire Warlock with Menace. Whenever you gain life, put a feeding counter on Nazar, the Velvet Fang. When Nazar attacks, you may remove 3 feeding counters from it. If you do, draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. Definitely looks like a Sengir or Grotha vampire to me.
Yeah, that's my first use of feeding counter. Probably the only time we'll ever see feeding counter.
Vampires have a habit of doing this, where they seem to have like very unique stuff happening with them.
I do feel like it's funny because otherwise I don't feel like this card is very unique at all. Like, its abilities aren't bad. I think gameplay-wise this is going to play quite well, because obviously you play it in a deck that has a bunch of lifelink already in it, so you play him, potentially even trigger him the same turn that he comes in, but normally you'll end up triggering by the next turn, drawing 3 cards, losing 3 life when you're gaining a bunch of life. That's a game-winning plan right there. Flavorfully though, paper thin. Yeah. Apart from the interest of he's from Ogrotha, and if he is from Ogrotha, man, would we have liked a little bit more flavor text to kind of give that some like just a tidbit.
Yeah.
Granny always used to say, "Don't talk with your mouth full."
Oh. Do you work for Wizards of the Coast?
No, and that was terrible, but still, like, that was just off the top of my head. And then you're like, oh, is that Granny saying Gary? And you're like, oh my god, it's from Ogrotha.
Near-div, Devious Diver, 3 and a blue, Merfolk Rogue.
Can we get out of Zelda? This is Mifa. Look at her.
Oh, it is Mifa,
It's
yeah.
absolutely just Mifa.
Whenever near-div, Devious Diver becomes tapped, target player mills cards equal to its power. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard or activate an ability of a card in your graveyard, draw a card and put a 1/1 counter on near-div. Near-div is from Lorwyn.
Yeah, we thought we weren't going to Lorwyn in 2026. You got it wrong, bitches.
Wizards tricked us.
We're there.
They're in a flavour text for Forced Fruition.
Yeah.
Petals within petals, tadpole. The truth lurks below the opulence of illusion. It's a cool flavour text.
It's a very cool flavour text. I like the fact that this plays, so the becoming tapped thing is like, so the tapped, this is what makes me feel like they're going to do theme packs, right? Because all of the Merrows from Lorwyn, before we moved into Shadowmoor and the Great Aurora happened, guess which kind of lore I'm into, they had a lot of tap abilities. So whenever these become tapped, do a thing, usually milling cards, like I think it's Fallow Sage or whatever, whenever it becomes tapped, you draw a card. Stonybrook Schoolmaster, I believe, mills a card whenever one of your Merfolk become tapped. It's a really cool concept, a really cool deck. I think the biggest issue with this card is that it doesn't have white in it to then make the new blue-white mill Merfolk deck, but then also there was lots of retrace and things like that in the Lorwyn set, or at least in the Lorwyn block, so it also plays with those effects really cool, casting spells from your graveyard or activating abilities from your graveyard. All of these things together make her very, very cool. I think you could build a very nice, and I guess I'll say it here and now, is that there are a lot of legendaries here that make really cool, focused, mid-power commander decks. Like, both of their abilities do a thing that's cool. They both push your game plan through. It's not super overpowered. You're not going to put this card down and people go like, oh, all right, yeah, like you do with, like, say, what's his name? Markov? What's his name?
Sorin?
No, the other one. Edgar Markov, yeah, you're not going to be sitting down and playing against that and going, all right, it's this kind of a deck. You're going to sit down and go, cool, I guess you could do some mill stuff and some graveyard stuff on a fairly efficient basis. Wonderful, good, not egregious at all whatsoever. And also, this girl, top of the menu on the waifu board right here.
Oh, dear God. Ozox, the Clattering King. 2 and a black for a skeleton noble.
We got a legendary skeleton, Andy.
Very cool.
I mean, obviously we already have Tiny Bones, but this one's arguably better in a skeleton deck.
Yeah, Ozox, the Clattering King can't block. Come on, King, why can't you block? When Ozox dies, I love, out of all the meme language, King and Queen stuff is very cool. You dropped your crown, King. When Ozox dies, create
Go off, it gets me.
Jumblebones, a legendary 2/1 black skeleton creature token with this creature can't block. And when this creature leaves the battlefield, return target card named Ozox Clattering King from your graveyard to your hand.
It's the ultimate reassembling skeleton.
3/2.
Yes, it reassembles from a noble skeleton into just a bunch of bones, and then when that crumbles together, it reforms itself back into Ozox. Like, this with something like Ratatrabic goes nuts.
Yeah. It's just such a cool design.
Right.
And I do like how skeletons are treated quite whimsically, because they are kind of silly. They're like silly zombies.
They're like silly zombies.
They are silly zombies. Zombies are kind of shuffling, they'll eat your brains and do all this kind of stuff, and you deal with all, the rotting and the flesh and all that kind of thing. And skeletons are these kind of clanky, jangly, jimble-jumble men.
They feel less like, oh, I'm really, really scared this guy's literally going to eat my brain. I'm more like, How do you even stay together, you little guy?
Although the visual design for Ozox is pretty badass.
Yeah, and this is also like the ultimate skeleton. Like it, obviously, skeletons coming back, reforming, coming back from your graveyard. This is just cycles. It does all of the things that old skeletons do. It's the ultimate, ultimate reassembling skeleton.
Padim console innovation got a reprint.
Zoomed out a little bit, and you
Cool
get to
artwork.
see their body, and I'm kind of not happier for it.
Oh,
I don't know. The proportions, I don't know. Seem like it makes their head so big.
I think on Vidalkins, don't they have slightly larger heads?
Yeah, I don't need to be aware of it.
Plagon.
Plagon.
Plagon. Oh yeah, Plagon. Lord of the Beach. Lord of the Beach!
This is exactly how he sounds.
Yeah. Look at his happy face.
This guy,
2 in a blue. Starfish Wizard.
He's a starfish wizard.
So cool. When Plagon, Lord of the Beach, enters, draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power. So it's a big butts commander. White and a blue. Target creature you control assigns damage equal to its toughness rather than its power this turn. No more lurking in the shallows. We ride! That's definitely the voice of this guy.
Absolutely. So there's quite a bit to break down here. Okay. One, where the fuck are we?
Because this with the jellyfish girl. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's another one coming up soon.
I feel like the jellyfish girl is not allowed to go to this plane. I feel like she's on a list.
She's the mortal enemy.
Yeah, she's on a list. He's riding a turtle that isn't necessarily sentient and also, like, anthropomorphized or whatever.
There's fish and bubbles.
There's fish and bubbles because obviously they can't swim outside of the ocean, but he can. I like this idea that he's bringing all of his buddies. There's another thing to his right. What's the? That's his staff.
He's carrying a staff with a conch, and in the conch there is another fish in the bubble.
Fish in a bubble.
He's wearing a little shell belt as well, and wearing a jellyfish hat.
This art goes so hard for being so ridiculous, and then you macro zoom in on his eye and his teeth, and he's got teeth, and that's a bit
little
weird.
teethy teeth.
That's a bit weird.
He's got a little moustache and goatee.
I don't know how I feel about Plagon. I'm not gonna lie. He's like the Auntie Blythe of this Jumpstart for me.
Is this maybe the beaches of Bloomborough? So this is a wizard who's come to Bloomborough.
But if it was the beaches of Bloomborough, the turtle would also be anthropomorphized.
Yeah.
That's what this is what fucks me up. This is not everything else that's going on in this artwork, but specifically did the turtle consent? Is the turtle okay?
This is very bizarre, but it's fully magic, and I love it.
It's so off the wall and it's so off the wall without trying to be funny about it. Like it doesn't feel. I'm gonna see.
Bless you.
I think that's it. Yeah. It doesn't feel like unverse. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be funny or punny. It's just like this is how bizarre magic can be.
It's been bizarre.
Deal with it.
Yeah. This is Goblin Snowman.
Also, did we talk about what he does? He's toughness tribal.
Big butts, yeah.
Yeah, big butts. And big butts without all of the extra colours. So people that say like, oh, Arcades is just better than Doran. Hey, it doesn't have black. Maybe there's reasons you want to be playing black. This, arguably, you could say, yeah, cool. It doesn't do as good a thing, but it does at least draw you a bunch of cards when it comes into play. And again, it teaches you that sometimes big butts are good, and it can turn that really quirky play style that you open a pack and it's like a bunch of 0/5s. You're like, well, this is terrible. And then you draw a Plagon, you're like, oh shit. I draw a bunch of cards and I can attack with my 5/5s, my 2-mana 5-power creatures. That's sick. Yeah, very cool.
Next up, we have Paul Jamar, Illusionist. 4 blue. Quite pricey.
Very pricey.
Human illusion wizard. So he himself is an illusion. Flying, when Paul Jamar, Illusionist enters, choose a creature type, draw a card for each creature you control of that type. So he's kind of a sort of pseudo shapeshifter changeling. Real is more flexible concept than you might think. 4/5. So
yeah. So his ability doesn't really do any. The fact, right? So I wish they'd taken one word away to make all of this grokkable. Human.
Yeah.
Just take away human. Have him be an illusion wizard because he then takes the form of a human. But then you're like, so is he a human that is an illusion, or is he an illusion of a human? Because I guess the typing makes it seem like he is a human that isn't. So then,
but why? How is a human an illusion?
Exactly.
Yeah,
he can't be an illusion if he's human. He's human at that
human.
point. Because then he's just he can transform.
You're right.
himself.
He should be an illusion human wizard.
Yeah, and in general, I just don't think it's similar to Arcade. Is it Arcades? Not Arcades. Fucking the taps for draws 3 cards one. God, he's one of the most famous wizards in Magic, and he's just typeline wizards.
Oh, Arcanus.
Yeah, we go.
Arcanus.
I think that
the one with the cloak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the don't worry about where I come from, only that you're going to lose, or something like. Cool
very
flavor
well
text.
remembered, yeah.
And yeah, I think the interesting thing for this is one, he's only on one of the flavor text, and that was Phantasmal Bear.
Yes. You know it to be false, but when it claws find you, we know you won't matter much at all.
Yeah, but his ability doesn't really do anything with illusions. It's kind of ironic because he plays really well in Min, a deck that makes illusions, just because he draws a card for each creature you have of that type, and that deck makes lots of illusions, and then wants to draw cards to make more illusions. Other than that, I feel like this is a bit hodgepodgey. He's a 4/5 flying creature as well. He doesn't look like he flies. I mean, yes, in the artwork he has a little bit of like splashy, illusion-y, wingsy kind of thing, but in general, I'm like, just another blue dude.
Yeah.
And if you look at the last...
he's Jace that you have at home.
Yeah, exactly. He's Jace at home for sure.
Persimilar, Meletian Poet, 2 and a white, human bard. Whenever you cast your first enchantment spell each turn, create a 2/2 white nymph enchantment creature token. At the beginning of each combat, if you control 5 or more enchantments, Persimilar, Meletian Poet gains 4/4 and gains lifelink until end of turn. He's a 1/1. Now, a lot of Therosian cards are like really based off of Theros, ancient Greek myth, right? Mm-hmm. And I, for the life of me, could not find a specific myth, and I put this out on socials as well, about a poet or some sort of human who plays a flute to impress a nymph. I thought that's, or like maybe like a Pied Piper. He's like a pipe because he's
this is like a long panpipe.
Yeah, it's a panpipe, right? For a start, which is weird because a lot of pipes. I'm now an expert in it, looking it up. A lot of pipes in Greek myth are the kind of the two like barreled pan pipe of Pan the satyr, and I think they're called like an Elrus or something similar. I think this is just because there are lots of myths and poems about Pan specifically. Pan was in love with a nymph. The nymph didn't love him. She prays to the gods to turn herself into a bunch of, like, river reeds to kind of, like, escape his nonsense.
So he just found a different way to play with her.
He was like, to remind himself of her, he creates a pipe out of pan reeds and plays it in the lake where she is now in for eternity.
Oh, so he doesn't accidentally cut the reeds themselves and make them into a...
No, that would be dark. I'm sure in some versions probably. So anyway, there are lots of myths about that, and I think the consensus is that it is just trying to play on that. He looks a little bit like, to me... Did you ever watch the Hercules TV show? Disney's Hercules? Mm-hmm. Icarus, his little weird mate.
Yeah.
Looks like him.
I'm getting Moomin vibes from the long nose.
Oh, what's his name? What is his name? Who's the Moomin who plays the harmonica?
Yeah, exactly.
I looked him up the other day. Fucking horseshoe, face strap. What's his name?
Oh, God.
Bunkle.
Snork Maiden? No, not Snork Maiden.
No, not Snork Maiden. That's a Moomin.
Oh my God, there are so many Moomin characters.
Alright, human. He's little Mai's brother. Human Moomin.
Not Snufkin?
Snufkin!
Yeah, Snufkin. He gives me Snufkin vibes.
Shout out to anyone who knows what human... Are Moomins in America?
I think so. Well, they were Middle European, weren't they?
Yeah, they're Norwegian.
Yeah. Not middle, I guess Northern then. Yeah, Northern European. Very, maybe, I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. It's
anyway.
A very quirky, very, very weird cartoon.
Originally a comic
strip. It's subtle nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Why isn't he a satyr?
Well, yeah, I guess. I kind of like the idea that he's a poet, Meletian poet.
Yeah, and he was on all of the nymph cycle from Heroes Beyond Death.
Yeah. So he was on all the 5-colour, all of the nymphs had some sort of poem written by him about that nymph or something to do with them. So very cool that we got him back.
He's a nymph simp.
That's quite good. Carla.
What a bitch! Sorry.
Ajani's pride mate. Well, she didn't fucking act like one. 3 in a white. 3 in a white for a cat warrior. Whenever Carla, Ajani's pride mate, attacks other attacking creatures you control, get +X/+0 until end of turn. Nathan is denying that.
How dare you?
When X is the number of counters
his brother's ability
on Carla. Whenever Carla... Oh, fucking hell. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Carla.
How dare you replicate Ajani's abilities?
3 in a white, you gain 1 life.
Yes, you have a really shit activated ability. This cunt.
Oh, hello.
I get one every now and again, okay?
Carla was one of 2 pride mates that was sent by Jazal to help Ajani on a quest. This is when Ajani... Was it when his spark ignited? Because he got almost killed?
I think so, yeah.
They leave Ajani because Ajani is an albino cat to his death, and they don't help him.
Yeah, there are human hunters that wouldn't normally be antagonistic, but because they saw Ajani, and they don't like... The reason the other guys don't like him is because Ajani's white, fair enough. But also, I guess from their point of view, it's like, you're too easy to be spotted and killed. Like, you will be killed and murdered.
Yeah.
And what happens when they go out? Some humans see him, and then they ignore the other two, go running past them, and chase Ajani down, because they're like, we want his pelt. We want to skin this sentient Nakatl alive for his skin. Like, that is dark. And they just leave him.
Just let him.
They just leave him. You think, oh, this is probably his girlfriend. No!
Yeah.
She might be a cat, but she's still a bitch.
It is quite bold that they've made a character that is... I mean, it's not bold, I guess, that they made a villain, but she's not really a villain. It's just... Villains have like a plot or a plan or a thing that makes them like...
She's barely even an antagonist. She's just a
bad person. And they made a legendary creature. And they've called her Carla Ajani's, not like Ajani's downfall or something.
Yeah, exactly. Betrayer of Ajani or something, which is more intriguing.
Pride Mate.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ajani's Pride Mate is already a card.
Yes.
Showing his loyalty to his pack across planes. Don't you fucking use that moniker here. Carla, get the fuck out. And also, Carla with a Q-A-L-I.
Well, that's Nakatl, right?
And what was Carla in Lion King? Carla with a K-L-A-L-A. And they are not the same. This is a very different kind of connection. Cool artwork, really cool perspective. I just don't like her. I don't like her at all.
That's a pretty bad card as well.
Yeah.
Moving on. So we've already had Jace at home. I give you now Taser Karlov at home.
Yeah.
Rev, Tithe Extractor. 3 and a black, human rogue.
What she wants.
So it's a very handsome person. Whenever you attack, target creature gains death touch till end of turn. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Then look at the top card of that player's library and exile face down. You may play that. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. 3/3.
Everything becomes a Ragavan.
Yeah, she's.
But it's not in red.
I mean, this really is. They literally. I mean, because I think this is probably a Ravnica card. It looks. She looks very.
She looks Orzhov as hell. Yeah.
This,
I mean, Tithe Extractor.
Yeah, this is just Taser Karlov. Like the design of the character, the way she's sitting, the kind of disinterested, hoity-toity femme.
Also, not the only character to have a vulture on their shoulder. Izareth already did this. You're just stealing other people's identities here, Rev. And it's not even a cool name. You don't even have flavour text.
No, when I tried to type in Rev into the
it brought up
Scryfall,
so much
because obviously
Yeah.
Moving on. Riona, Fire Dancer, Rishkar, Prima Renegade, Rudolph, Dustbringer, Sai, Master Thopterist, all reprints.
Yep.
Sai gets cool new artwork, as does Riona.
Rishkar and Rodolph. Rishkar's surprising, because we've had this artwork a lot.
I mean, Rishkar is a very solid legendary creature.
I'm surprised that we did. Same with Marwyn. We've had them both a fair few times. It's a weird thing that neither of the elf reprint legendaries got a new artwork.
A couple of... oh my gosh, I'm blanking on another plane name. Where is Chandra from?
Kaladesh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A couple of Kaladeshi characters, because Sai is from Kaladesh, right?
Yeah.
So is Padim, I guess.
Yeah.
So
we've had
cool.
quite... I mean, we obviously are going to Kaladesh in Ether Drift, which we'll talk about actually in the further... Are we doing that? Are we doing the other... It's fine, we'll get to it in a minute.
Yeah. We're almost done. We're almost done.
Should we have the most... I thought that Plubus, whatever his name is,
no.
the Plagoon, I thought that was going to be the most ridiculous legendary we were going to get.
Shroofus, the Sprout Sire.
Like Shroofus?
2 and a green. Saproling. Saprolings are fun. Trample. Whenever a Saproling you control deals combat damage to your player, create that many green Sapling creature tokens. His laughter and everything else about him was infectious. 1/1. He's a toadstool Saproling boy with big stalky eyes and lots of little toadstool friends.
It's a shame. It's a shame. He's so cool that he completely gets around the fact that he's called Shroofer Sprout Sire. Like, this guy looks like he's literally cut from a Ghibli. He's literally walking around little mushroom dudes. And you can build this deck probably to be quite strong. This is a very simple ability that goes quite nuts, and the fact that you're doing it with a legendary Saproling, I think, is the most darling thing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Big fan. I'm just going to very quickly check, is he the only legendary Saproling?
No, because Slimefoot.
Is he a Sapling or is he a fungus? Exactly. Like,
hello.
Check. Oh, I know. Oh, cheeky.
Crikey O'Reilly.
Saproling. Search with these. He's the only one.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Slinzer, the Spiked Stampede. Fucking terrifying artwork. 4 and a green.
120% spiky.
For a beast. Beast spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Each other beast creature you control enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it.
More crime.
More crime in traffic. Oh, it's going the other way. Good for you, mate. Whenever Slinzer or another creature with a power 4 greater enters, you may play 1 and a hybrid red-green. When you do, Slinzer fights target creature you don't control 5/5. This is pretty fighty.
Yeah, the thing... So, 2 things. One, God, I wish it had just been a 4-mana 4/4, because that's like...
that's the quintessential beast.
That's the beast, right? Yeah, especially considering, like, you know, Carvus and everything, you were all like 4/4s. And the 4 power tribal was a thing for beasts as well. The fact that it makes Slinzer fight them as the spikes. I guess from a flavor point of view, he can't help it. Whenever a beast comes into play, he wants to have a fucking go. But it would have been nicer if each beast as it comes in immediately comes down, gets the counter and wants to fight something.
Yeah.
Instead of Slinzer being the one to do it. I don't know if maybe there's a rules thing. I mean, making beasts cheaper. Beasts need all of the help they can get. Being able to make a beast tribal deck that has all the notes.
Carvus and everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool. This is one of those.
I think is he not a Carvu? He looks like a Carvu.
He looks like he could be a Carvu. No, I think the Carvus had a very specific jaw.
Arms,
They had a very specific jaw structure as well. It's very hard to tell where this is from. I'm not going to lie.
Satina, Speaker of Tajuru. 2 and a green for an elf scout. When Satina, Speaker of Tajuru, enters, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Whenever Satina attacks, you may return a land you control to its owner's hand. When you do, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control to...
Yeah, it does a lot of stuff. It's fairly... I think it's a lot more powerful than it looks, but it's not very interesting.
It's just like every Zendikar elf, just get in the bin. She's on the flavor text.
You, Nissa! Get in the bin!
Yeah, it's true. Well, yeah, fucking... Too right. Leaf Arrow was a card she had a flavor text on. Those who think trees shall remain bystanders throughout the conflict shall be sorely mistaken. God, I just have no affinity for Zendikar.
Why did both of the new elf legends get really cool artworks that are nice subtle anime styles, and yet you just couldn't give me a new Marwyn? Like this, even this artwork would have just been fine. Just give me a new Marwyn. I'm complaining, but it's mostly... Look, if you're going to give a reskin to 80% of the cards, I'm going to complain when one of my fucking commanders is in the 20% you didn't.
Sir Eleonora the Discerning and Tabarak's Hope's Demise are both reprints.
Both very cool artwork.
Very cool artwork,
in my opinion.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Tabarak's interesting back up to being a rare, having been downgraded to an uncommon in the last iteration.
Oh, very fun. Tycho, the Patient Avalanche.
The Patient Avalanche. What?
He's a super turtle ninja.
He's a teenage turtle night guy.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Tycho, the Patient Avalanche, enters tapped whenever another because he's just so huge. He's fucking smashes down.
He's just like, oop.
Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it didn't die, scry 1 and put a 1/1 token... 1/1 counter on Tycho. Whenever Tycho attacks, you may pay a hybrid blue-black. Whenever you do, target attacking creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Or target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn.
It's
4/5.
It's a ninja tribal card.
He's a Ninja Turtle.
But without being one of your normal ninjutsu. Like, he's the one who kind of makes all of your other cards better. You can play... This is the prime example for me of... These are nice, focused, mid-power commanders.
Yeah.
You can make... It's not Yuriko, it's not Satoru, it's not going to do anything super obnoxious. It just makes all of your things that you're doing a little bit better, and he allows you to do it more. The fact he enters tapped is just kind of funny. Like, in the artwork, is he just accidentally knocking someone's cart over or something?
No, isn't he? So it's another ninja trying to steal an artifact, like a bowl and a dish.
And he's, like, pushing...
He's
zing!
smashing past him.
Yeah.
With a weird, like, flashlight on his head.
Yeah, I found it. This artwork's a little bit too busy.
It's very busy.
But it does, as you say, this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Big fan.
Right, we've got two new cards left, so let's get through it. So we have a reprint first, Thrix the Sudden Storm. Fucking sick artwork.
Really cool. Like, he's so ready. The storm was so sudden, he wasn't even ready for it. It's like, oh! Yeah. It's so cool.
Thurid, Mare of Destiny.
Mare of Destiny.
2 white for a Pegasus, flying lifelink. Whenever you cast a Pegasus, unicorn or horse, nice batching, create a horse creature spell, copy it. So it's fucking... What's her name? Myrel. Who's the dragon?
Mirim.
It's Mirim for horses. Other Pegasi, unicorns... Pegasi, I like it. Unicorns and horses you control get 1/1, 2/4.
So this is the perfect example of... This is a nice, cool batching. I'm glad I can fit all of my unit. Oh, never mind, half of them are green. I guess I'm just going to continue to use Lathril. This is the kind of card that would be a really cool legend, but very boring. But you put it in the 99, and it makes all of everything better.
Yeah.
I feel like if you had this at the top of your 99 as the commander, you look at it and you go, motherfucker, you're going to get double horses, and even horses, Pegasi and unicorns, which aren't the strongest types. Doubling up every single spell you cast of them is pretty fucking strong if you have access to it every game. So, yeah, you could probably build a fairly okay mono-white deck, but I think of putting this in the 99. It's very generic, but I don't hate it.
I like how we're, as usual, obviously, we're talking about this from a commander standpoint. Jumpstart is specifically a format.
Yeah, but I guess also the thing is because the packs are so small and so the deck you're playing with is so small, you're more likely to see these legendaries, right? And the packs are also seeded specifically to work with the legendary creatures, kind of similar to how you cultivate your 99 to work around your commander. It's almost like limited commander, because every pack I think will have a legendary, or most packs will have some kind of legendary that will tell you this is how you're supposed to play this pack. In the same way that like a commander precon will be like, this is the way to play these mechanics.
Last new legend.
Oh, also from Kaldheim because of the runes for it and the name.
Yeah.
And also Mare of Destiny, they're a little bit about fatism. I mean,
the,
I guess
the braided hair as well.
Yeah, it feels more Kaldheimian than Therosian.
Erdnan. Dramoka Warrior. 1 and a white for a human warrior, 1/1. When Erdnan Dramoka Warrior enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature with a 1/1 counter on it gains first strike till end of turn. If that creature has 2 or more 1/1 counters on it, it gains double strike till end of turn.
This is just the guy, the human version of the elf from before, right? Of where it's like, hey, 2 abilities, both work quite well. Again, this card go in a bunch of decks because it's very generically fine, you know? Get a little guy that gets bigger and he comes out quite early and then getting a payoff for it. This is exactly what this is the bread and butter of what the Jumpstart commanders are supposed to be.
I mean, also
legends are supposed to be.
Very Dramokan Tarkir. He's on 4 other cards in the flavor text, all of them obviously from sort of Tarkir era. The most sort of famous one being Sunscorch Regent, which I play in a deck. We trust in the Scale Lords, bringers of justice that none can escape.
I guess we withhold any conversations about timeline and anything until we go back to Tarkir Dragonstorm, because we have no idea. No idea.
The last few cards in the set are Venser, Shaper Savant, Verdaloth the Ancient, Villis, Broker of Blood, Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, and Zada, Hedron Grinder, all of which are reprints. The only one that doesn't get new artwork is Verdaloth, and the other 4 have sick new artwork.
Villis is so cool. Both he and Tabarex have this really weird, like, almost unnecessarily red motif going on that just makes them look dank as fuck.
I really like the Venser one, because I must admit, I don't love, is it the Eric Deschamps one, which has Venser without the helmet?
Yeah.
The other 2 with him having the helmet on, I'm just like, oh no, Eric Deschamps, sorry. I'll take that back. He did the Planeswalker. I like that one.
No, he did do the one with... He did that
Oh,
one.
right. Who am I thinking of who did the Planeswalker then? Was it Eric Deschamps?
Potentially also
Yeah. Because I like the Planeswalker artwork. I just don't really love the character one. The creature card without the helmet. The other 2 Shapers of Advance, now he's got the helmet on with the glowing red eyes. He looks sick.
And it's very similar to his original artwork from Alexi Briscoe, or
Yeah.
however you pronounce the French in that. Sorry, apologies.
So yeah, I mean, that's a shit ton of them. That's
Good
taken
mix.
us an hour to get through that.
And I think for the most part, none of the new ones are particularly egregious. It's funny how we've lightened... Because I remember us looking at Auntie Blythe when she came out and being like, what the fuck is this? But then we looked at Shroomus and we looked at Plagon and we're like, alright, this is fine. Have we become desensitized to weirdness in Magic in the interim between these two Jumpstart sets?
I would say 30% yes. 70% Auntie Blythe was like...
So egregious.
A riff on like your mum's mate. Do you know what I mean? She had like little horn rimmed glasses.
It's the fact she looked like a secretary.
Yeah. Whereas the other 2 look like fantasy people.
True. Yeah, I can see either of these characters in a... I would like to go to the plane. I hope that they're from the same plane, because that plane seems like Bloomborough, but like if you filled everyone's bloodstream with candy.
Aha!
You know?
Yeah. Should we talk about next year?
Sure. So we are technically with Foundations releasing, I guess, in a week and a half, 2 weeks-ish. This is technically the last release of this year. I kind of even put this out of my mind as even coming out this year, really. But there will be... we'll do a Foundations set proper. We'll have a look at the flavour of it. I don't know if there's going to be story. I don't think they've announced anything for it yet. Maybe we'll get a little bit of like, here's a flashback story of this character. This is this character now that we haven't seen them in 6 years. Maybe they'll do a little bit of that to go... If we're doing a base foundation for Magic as from a mechanical card piece point of view, here's also the story from a base point of view, and here's a couple of little tidbits to reimagine some people or reset the lore for them. There's a lot going on next year, though. There's a lot going on next year.
So they've announced that, as you said previously, this shouldn't be news to you if you're listening to this podcast. Half of all the releases next year for Standard will be Universes Beyond product.
One of which we don't even know what it is yet.
Yeah.
For better... Now, my question mark in this... So basically, there was a panel that came out, the Foundations panel. I don't know if that's what it's officially called, but that's what I'm calling it, because that's what I put into YouTube and found it through there. They went through a bunch of announcements. They went through some things that are like going to change the shape of kind of like how Magic works commercially. They've changed some things about how it's going to work in terms of formats. And then obviously they also did a run through, like they always do, of going, these are all of the sets that are going to come out, some with more information than others. 5 out of the 6 sets got spoiled and talked about. We know a fair bit about some of them anyway. A quick run through the more crime, the bookkeeping side of things. MRSP is back. That's good for buying purposes.
Yeah.
In general, just trying to keep the price down on things. I think they probably noticed that some sellers are kind of taking a piss a little bit, and in general, the product is getting more and more expensive. Collector boosters, commander sets that are being specifically tailored into Premier play rather than being like an introductory level means that they're more expensive. Like the Eldrazi Precon, for example, I think was pre-ordering for like nearly 80 quid or something stupid. It hopefully just kind of keeps that down, mediates that. I think there are certain products that won't be counted for this. I think it'll only matter for play boosters and then pre-constructed decks. I think collector boosters, people can kind of go, hey, charge what you like for it. It's a premium product anyway. But the base product, I think now, especially with Foundations coming out, this is probably why they've done it, is they wanted their Foundation set that's going to be printed for the next 5 years and be legal for the next 5 years, not to be extortionate. If it turns out that certain cards are really expensive and the set starts holding really good equity, they don't want it to keep jacking up to the point of where you can no longer afford to buy it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it kind of holds them a little bit more in good faith.
So the release that we know about, which is on the panel, they did that little sort of, I never quite know what they're called. You have...
Timeline.
Fuck off, is it just called something like that?
It's literally
Andy,
a timeline.
It's called a timeline.
This is literally the line of time.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Ether Drift, Tarkir Dragonstorm, Final Fantasy, and remember, these are all going to be standard legal.
These are all standard legal.
Edge of Eternities, which is obviously something we don't know much about, other than it's going to be sci-fi, almost like full-on sci-fi.
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Spider-Man TBA release. So that's obviously going to be off the little... We have the little taster of the Marvel Secret Lair stuff, and this is them going, you like that, didn't you, you fucking bitch? Drink more of it.
Here's your fan favourite one. We're not doing all of it. No, we're just going to... We'll get to it.
And then TBA UUB.
Yeah, which is Unannounced Universes Beyond.
So there are 3 Magic sets and 3 Universes Beyond sets.
And it goes Magic, Beyond, Magic, Beyond.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it means that the front half of the year is going to be more Magic IP, and then the back end of the year is going to be more.
So where's SpongeBob SquarePants and all of this?
I don't know if the date was released for it, but it's only a secret lair.
So here's the thing, which obviously everyone was like really worried about, and you watched the panel. I actually didn't watch the panel. I just got a lot of crib notes, and obviously just being part of the conversation online or whatever. So I think you probably have a more surgical view of it than I do. But everyone was just super stressed at the idea that if half of the game, not just as a special edition or a skin or some shit, half of the tournament legal game is now going to be Universes Beyond. Not just like the odd staple here and there. Like the nuts and bolts of the battlefield are going to look like Universes Beyond. That we have finally absolutely hit the point of Magic the Gathering doesn't have its own IP
What does this
anymore.
game look like at a glance?
And the fact that they were calling the IP for Magic the Magic IP in a lot of this conversation was like, oh, Magic is no longer its own game. It's now just happens to be a bit of flavour that they stick on the Magic.
It happens to be Jace and what he's doing, because there was also an announcement that they're finally actually going to get their shit together and make some kind of, television media related to Magic, and we're going to get the series, and it's going to focus on characters like Ajani and Chandra, which was met with lukewarm response, and then it was like, oh, and a special guest, oh, you ready for it? Jace! And obviously half the audience is like, yeah, that guy that you keep putting in everything.
Yeah.
How is that
these
supposed to be
characters that
exciting?
we know, one of them's like, their stories are done. Their stories are done.
Yeah. And are we going to get a reimagining of it? Is it going to be plot relevant to the things that are happening now, or is it going to be an individual story? Does it end up undoing any canon? Does it reinforce any canon? We don't know.
Yeah.
All we know is it's absolutely going to happen. So that'll be an interesting thing. It'll be nice to have a different media of Magic to talk about, because we've never, outside of the stories and outside of the cards, outside of pictures and writing, we haven't had a chance to actually digest Magic media. Like, we should have actually, like, for example, done some of the games in the past, maybe. It's like
I remember our
episode.
very first episode, we said that, we might be talking about things like Duel of the Planeswalkers or Chandler. I mean, the Boom comics have been out, and they're non-canon.
Yeah, we should, and that's the thing that kind of annoys me, is had they been canon, we could have got really into the nitty-gritty.
I think that's why we avoided them.
Because I guess we could have looked at it as like a what-if product, like they've done, obviously, Marvel what-if animated series.
But I'm not that fussed about that.
No.
I think our conversations about what if this happened...
Yeah, we also want to see it
far more interesting to me,
and we also want to see it within the game being played rather than like what's it trying to do outside of the game. You know.
Also, we do talk about the books and the stories when they come out, and that is part of it. Like that's media.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like it would be interesting to have a new medium to talk about,
yes.
And whether or not we focus on it or not, who knows? Like it depends. I have no idea what to expect. I'm leaving all of my expectations out of the room.
It's just, I mean, I did a big thread on Twitter about why I think. I mean, it was a bit sprawling because, to be honest with you, there's so much going on in this conversation. I think I've gotten to the point now where the straw hasn't broken the camel's back. The straw has dug the camel's grave and shoved him in it unceremoniously. And you just have to fucking deal with it. So many people were like up in arms going, well, SpongeBob has ruined Magic. I was like, bro, Walking Dead wasn't Magic. Fucking Lord of the Rings wasn't Magic.
Well, let's rewind. My Little Pony and Optimus Prime are not Magic.
Well, so do you know what? Do you know why I think that is different? And I do think it is.
I mean, I'm talking
different.
about the original.
Yeah. So the charity products.
Yes,
that's different in tone because the intention, especially for My Little Pony, and again, like actually with the Transformers cards, not only were they so rarefied anyway because they were like a charity product.
Yeah, super expensive. Really
and also, but they weren't designed to be played. The actual mechanics,
you weren't actually expected to bring a Transformer to the table.
The mechanics on Sparkle Butt or whatever the fuck. I mean, I actually like Applejack. I do know what their names are, but like the mechanics on them they weren't playable. They're only played in Commando.
Yeah, you don't actually play Nerf War and
the
shoot
mechanics
a gun at
don't
deck.
make sense because they're just meant to be like, look at this fun thing we did.
It was an unset through a different commercial lens, right? But I guess the problem, or the reason I bring it up is because as soon as that happened, as soon as they peeked. They opened that lid, a little sneak bit, and they peeked inside. They're like, what can we do with Magic as a game system in this wide world of IPs and memes and things? And they went, oh, quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And I think it's just been... So one of the big criticisms about saying like, oh, well, now we've got 6 different standard sets.
There is that as well,
They wanted to absorb Final Fantasy. It's like they always planned on having Final Fantasy and Marvel being part of the standard rotation. And I guess the communication and why it's good that we started with the Jumpstart Foundations, and we probably could have done the Foundation set as a whole, but it's not fully released yet, so it's a bit jumping the gun.
Yeah.
Is that they needed to have this 5-year set in stone, this is what Magic the Gathering is, without any of the expansion fluff. And that's why they've gone, like, for the next 5 years, this is what you need to be looking at. If you want to see Magic, just go and play some more Foundations. Go and look at Foundations again. If you want to avoid Bikini Bottom, Foundations. If you want to avoid Midgar and all of the other various fucking worlds that we've seen in Final Fantasy, look at Foundations. If you really hate Spider-Man and you're a DC fan, look at Foundations. I guess the problem that people will have is that if they're on the circuit and playing in rotation, they're like, I don't get to avoid it. But also, because we're doing 6 standard sets in a year, you don't have to avoid it. You don't have to not avoid it for very long before we're on the next thing. For better or for worse.
I do feel bad. So, like, again, I will refer back to that Twitter post I did, because it was a little bit bitter, I think, in some places. And one tweet that I made that I think, when it's on paper, comes across a little bit bitter, but I still think is valid, is that I remember it was during Hour of Devastation, Amonkhet Standard, and that was a point where Twitch was still streaming a lot of the coverage, right? And I was watching, I remember it clear as day, because I was in Milton Keynes building an escape room for my job. Like, it's all piecing together. 2016, I think it was. And I was watching the coverage, and there was a guy doing Vox Pops with the pros. And one of them was saying, I can't remember the pro, to be fair. They were saying, how would you feel if Magic was like a space thing? Would you like the ancient Egypt thing? Like, you know, what if it was all spaceships and aliens? And the guy said, I know this isn't like everyone's opinion, but it was an opinion shared by many Magic pros and tournament grinders. They were like, oh, well, you know, the theming of it doesn't really fuss me that much. You know, what engages me is all of the strategy and tactics and maths of the game. I wouldn't really care if they did like a space theme. You know, that's not part of the game for me. Turns fucking out, it becomes real important when suddenly the theming is like SpongeBob SquarePants. Suddenly they start fucking caring.
Yeah, you can't... You've either got to let Magic continue to express itself wider and wider. Because the alternative to that is that it does just keep reiterating the same thing over and over again. And the annoying thing is, and I found this with a lot of LGSs, is that the really enfranchised players typically aren't the ones reinvesting week in, week out, month in, month out. You know, they need to keep getting people to be investing in this game, otherwise they can't keep making it. And the best way to do that is to keep trying to extend its audience.
But, like, there's extending your audience. This is the problem. I think what they've done is, like, so I can only speak for me. So I'm gonna pull right back there. I can only speak for me, but I don't believe I am this super special. Like, oh, my opinion is so unique and wonderful. I think this opinion probably is shared by a lot of people who have the same journey as me. You start off being really horrified at the idea that there's non-Magic IP being, like, sanctioned as, like, a proper thing as opposed to a nice little flourish here and there. You then get to a point like I did for, like, maybe the past couple of years where you've gone, it's not for me, bless you, but it's bringing joy to some people. Magic is a game system. I think we even said it in an episode. I had this kind of moment of like, maybe Magic is just a game system and we need to be okay with that. Because they're really curating the IPs they're bringing in and I can avoid it as a Commander player and la la la. So you live in that kind of hinterland. And then they've just gone, oh, well, you were okay with it a little bit, so we just decided to bring this fucking dump truck of all the shit you hated before and just fucking piss all over your chips. Like,
yeah, I suppose both, I guess, so Final Fantasy, I think, by itself isn't an issue, right? It's fan favourite, people are going to enjoy it, and it's kind of that somewhat goth punk, steampunk, semi-fantasy, like, all of the themes within Final Fantasy work within a clashing magic multiverse.
It's Bryn.
Exactly. Marvel, I can understand, is weird because you're specifically focused on Earth.
Yeah.
And it'll be like New York. And that's the thing I think is the interesting is when you're looking at an IP that takes place in this world, and this is why I think people like... I think it's why people massively had reservations about Dustmourn to begin with, and now probably those were kind of assuaged. I think people are kind of okay with it now. It was essentially Earth in a Magic set. You know, like if Halloween, Earth Halloween was made into a Magic set, which... Again, I understand why people had the reservations, but I think they handled it fairly well, and we even agreed by the end of it that the set actually worked. I think it's hard to avoid... Like, I don't know how you're going to make a Spider-Man set feel like a fully immersive set that doesn't stand out very differently.
The only way they could... the only in-universe way for Marvel that it makes sense is that if they have it as a Marvel universe that is magical. So instead of it being Earth 616, it's Earth 1994.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, in this Marvel universe, there's also wizards. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I guess the problem is in the Marvel universe, there already is wizards.
You fucking know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
There's mana.
Like, I could imagine, for example, like, it's not hard to imagine Assassin's Creed side by side with Therosian cards, you know? Whereas it's kind of hard to see...
Well, Assassin's Creed also, sorry, not to cut you off, is also very strange, because as much as the later games had a bit of a fantasy element, and there is a sci-fi element to all of the game series, like, full stop... Yes, all right, they don't qualify whether they're in New York or whatever in present day, but they do say it's Damascus.
Yeah, I guess the interesting thing, right, with Assassin's Creed is it became its own game system that they forced other IPs through, you know? Here's Egypt, here's good old Blighty, you know? They did what Magic is doing already, which is kind of interesting because you got to do, like, wait... Thor and Odin were in Assassin's Creed. It's like, yeah, but not until later, and don't really worry about it.
Do you know what, interestingly, I stopped playing... I played Assassin's Creed 3, and then I didn't actually play Black Flag, although I think that one would have been fine too. When they started bringing in what is considered like the new Assassin's Creed run of ideas, that's when I stopped. I was like, I'm not into it.
The thing is, I think that they probably folded it over quite well, but we already have analogues for Thor and for Odin and things like that within Magic, so that's where that doesn't necessarily work. And I guess you're not trying to... This is very much a... Both Final Fantasy, I think Final Fantasy less so, you could probably make it feel like a grounded, like, oh, Jace could accidentally go to a random Final Fantasy plane.
Yes.
And it could work. Whereas you can't do that with Marvel. Marvel will feel like it sits on its own. And I wonder from a artistic point of view, are they going to go all in like they did with Transformers and keep it cartoony and blocky? Do they do that when we eventually get to X-Men? Do we do that, or are we going to try and semi-realisticify and make it, and bring it in to make it feel like it sits within the same world? And are they going to do a thing of where they go, cool, this is a very specific version of the Marvel universe, rather than just being, here's Eddie Brock from the Spectacular Spider-Man series. You know, here's this specific... Are they going to focus on a specific series? Is it going to be Spider-Man across all mediums? Are we going to get a Tobey... Like, that kind of thing. How focused is it going to be? Because we don't know anything yet, it's very easy to assume probably the worst, and I actually feel a lot more nervous about that, even though I love fucking Spider-Man to death, than I do about Final Fantasy, which I'm pretty sure they're going to do a massively good job on, because they have specifically someone from Square Enix working in collaboration with Wizards to make sure that this set does deliver and does all of the things it needs to do.
Especially since their own card game folded anyway.
Yeah, and this is like them going out on a limb, right?
Now, there are two saving graces to this, I think, in terms of like, okay, this is how it's going to be now. First is, I think, skinning cards. So it's a skin of an existing Magic card where, you know, it's a braid and then they've given it like a Marvel name or something over the top. Is that this is inherently what they're going to have to do, because in any standard set, half of that set is reprints and staples from other things, just like nuts and bolts pieces.
Yeah.
So you're effectively skinning, if you've got 300 cards...
A braid could very easily be a card.
It could be anything, and it could be like your fucking cap shield gets fucking melted or whatever.
Yeah.
So 150 of the 300 cards in a standard set are just going to be reskins.
Yeah, lightning bolt with
functionally.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
It's the other 150 where it's like, so as a commander player, I can
just
avoid
have
it.
anyone. Yeah, you could have, but in the standard, it's kind of funny that you will end up having to play 4 of cap shield or 4 of photon blaster or anything that doesn't feel specific. It's like, imagine if Saw. So like Bloombar is fine in a nutshell, but then if your standard set does have to play 4 Saw and 4 chainsaw, your average game is always going to be like, here's random earth weapon every single game, you know? And how is that going to change your perception of the game and your interactivity with the game, you know? Because you're no longer playing with fairies, you're playing with a cheerleader and a survivor.
A literal fucking cheerleader.
And does that then change how you're engaging with the game? And I guess the problem is with standard, and this is something we're not going to be able to know anything about for the next year, and it doesn't really affect us anyway as lore nerds, but... how can Foundation stay relevant for 5 years of other standard sets being relevant to ensure that there is this balance of you're not sitting doing the thing of going, my Optimus Prime attacks into your Ned Stark, you know? Like, is it going to be Ned Stark? That's not a thing. Anyway.
They will do Game of Thrones, I guarantee it.
That's a whole different IP. So yeah, it's one of those kind of questions of like, is it going to get there? And then, I guess, to take a step back to then look at the actual Magic IP sets we're going to get, do they have enough chops to stand up against those sets and still fill enough of the room to make it balanced and feel like... Because if it's 3 Magic sets and 3 non-Magic IPs and Foundations in the background, that's still technically more Magic IP in the year than it is not.
Well, that's the second saving grace. So I said there are 2 saving graces, the first one being the effective reskins. The second one is, everyone was basically like, well, that's Magic IP, quote-unquote, dead. Because they clearly think that all of the UBs are cash cows. They're now not going for, well, it's Lord of the Rings. We all like Lord of the Rings, right? They're like, well, everyone likes Final Fantasy, but also Final Fantasy is massively popular with non-Magic nerds. And you're like, oh, fuck. Or like SpongeBob goddamn SquarePants, whatever.
If they could have, they'd have done Pokemon years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is... I'm not going to say it's clear to me, because it makes it sound like I'm this fucking oracle sat on like a hilltop, like, and know everything about Magic. It appears to me that with the fucking 50 legendaries we just ran through now, plus the stuff that's in Foundations, they are aware and across Magic lore, both new and old, and they are still those people. There are those still people in the room who are like, well, no, fucking Zendikar is important to us. Like, Theros is important to us. The game mechanics that's been built on the idea that this is how mana work is important to us. And I think that's like Magic IP. Oh god, they've already lexicon me. Magic IP is so strong within the game that they can't whittle it down to nothing. They can make half the game not Magic, and Magic still feels like the foundation for it all.
Well, it's
to
also
quote the name of the set,
right?
Like,
well, that's the point, right? But also, it's only in recent years that, yes, okay, even if you look at the snapshot of this 1 year, over half of the product is still Magic.
Yeah,
but you still have almost 30 years of only Magic. So it's one of those things of, do you feel like that's now irrelevant because you're only engaging with what's happening now? And if so, aren't you part of the problem? Because then if you're only really focused on the zeitgeist, if you're only focused on what's happened in the last month, you're part of the same rotational aspect. Like, so I guess from their point of view, they could be saying, we're making these 6 different sets in this year, that all of these could be the way you get into Magic, and you've got all of the rest of Magic to play with that.
But I think that's very valid. That's very, like, this is a one year out of 31 by the time it comes out. I get that. But if you look at the One Ring, that card has dominated every format, including Commander, it has to be said, that it's come into. And if you hated Lord of the Rings, but for some reason liked Magic, those people don't really exist, but Like, if that's you, please pipe up. I'd love to meet you. Like, you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And you have to be going, well, they could have just called it Powerful Wizard's Ring or some shit.
They could just very easily put a line of text on it. You can only have one of these in your deck.
Well, there we go.
And that balances it entirely.
But like,
it's still super powerful.
You still have to engage with it.
Yeah, you do. Still have
all
to
of your
engage with
content creation media that you consume, all of your fucking like MTG direct media that you consume, every fucking article has got this Lord of the Rings thing in it, and you're like, I play Magic because I don't want to then do Lord of the Rings. I don't want to do Marvel. I don't want to do... It's the same arguments. It's the same arguments people made when Walking Dead came out, but now it's part of your standard rotation, and that sucks. That sucks. I don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I guess time will tell how it plays. I think the idea of it does sound potentially very damaging, and I'd be interested to see what 2026 will look like in terms of balance.
Oh god!
Because again, you don't at that point have Foundations as a new product balancing out. That's already sat in the background. You're like, yeah, I know I've already got that, but there's now at that point, does it then do another 3 and 3? Do they realise that they might need to step off the gas a little bit? Should we at least drive by, pun intended, the Magic sets that we're going to see that year as well? Because
sure, Ether Drift. Wacky Races in Space.
Wacky Races in Space. I mean, I guess it's not in space, right? Because it's just across the three. It's just across 3 planes. And
what is it?
Are we assuming it's
Kaladesh?
I think we're assuming it's Maragda or Marangda, whatever it is. The place that has the dinosaurs that likes vanilla creatures.
Oh yeah.
I think that's where, because there was a hint in the panel saying like it's a place that has dinosaurs, and I don't think unless it's Ixalan and you suddenly have to turn your car into a hoverboat.
Oh,
like Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing, yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Are you doing that? Like, because that would be sick.
Or I mean, there are multiple planes with dinosaurs.
Yeah, but I think well, the idea is it's one that we haven't physically properly been to yet. Yeah, so true. This is why I said Marangda, because we haven't.
So it's going to be Kaladesh. It's going to be Maranga.
We think potentially Amonkhet as well.
Well, okay.
Because we've seen some artwork that looks like it's potentially
not Kamigawa.
No.
What?
I know, but because I think in that vein, Kamigawa and Kaladesh...
She's riding an Akira bike. Chandra's riding.
Yeah, she could have got the thing. So I think wherever we start on, I think with it, they could, because of Omen Pass.
Oh, so you think it's going to be races across the multiverse with their Wacky Races vehicles, but the planes that the track is on
could potentially go.
It could be anything.
It could be go.
I see.
Yeah. Let's see it. Who knows?
We
don't like the set symbol.
Oh, the flag.
I don't like straight lines in my set symbol.
I don't like checkered flags.
Yeah.
A multiverse, Nathan.
And it's got a checkered flag from NASCAR. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It could have been a wheel.
It could have been a wheel, a flaming wheel, and been slightly more acceptable.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I think it's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be a better multiversal thing than Outlaws. Put it that way.
I think it's cool as well that they've got the grand prize being a spark that's an equipment.
An ether spark.
Yeah.
Gonti's Ether Spark.
Yes.
I put that out on Twitter. I'm on fire on Twitter at the moment, by the way.
Sure.
Well, no, because usually I'm just copying fucking posts at JNL, mate. I was very quick on the mark of being like, Gonti's Ether Heart, Gonti's Ether Spark, and lots of people were like, oh. I was like, yeah. They're like, oh yeah, shit. He's definitely gone into the vault because he was on Outlaws. He was in Thunder Junction. Mm-hmm. He's nicked some for more Evolt shit before it.
And he's shoved his heart into it and gone.
He's been like, "This is sick. This is me. This is done."
But why would he give it up? Why would he give up the prize?
Because
why would he just keep it himself?
Well, is he going to rig the race? Is he going to give it to his champion?
Also, here's some spoilers, guys. Someone has seen that the hand, the zombified hand, is very similar to the hand that Vraska has when her and Jace are lying on the floor being like, oh, we've recovered from pheresis. Oh, isn't that a fucking miracle? And it's almost exactly the same bandage and hand that she has. And some people are like, oh, it just looks like a zombie. Maybe it's a misdirect. So maybe Vraska will win. And the idea that people have, right, is that all these various people that Jace has wronged are going to be like, in their own various teams, all against him. And like, I'm just getting it for my snake girl. You know, I'm winning this for my girl. And I was
so you can give her spark back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Chandra is racing to get Nissa's spark back.
Everyone's not doing it for their own reasons. They're doing it for other people. It's cute. I mean, let's see how it all shakes out.
This definitely is like, we're going to give the Gatewatch like one last ride.
This is Saturday morning television magic at its absolute peak.
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it. Let's see how they pull it off.
Tarka Dragonstorm.
It'll be not. So this is where the Dragonstorm arc hasn't really been a Dragonstorm arc. We've just had kind of dragons in some places at times, and I think there are some stories that benefit from having seeds throughout multiple planes. if you think about Dustmourn, for example, didn't have any hints that we were going there at any point, and by itself was an amazing story. The Dragonstorm arc is like, there's big things happening, and there's a dragon,
nothing's really happened yet.
Nothing's really happened, and when we go there, it's going to maybe be quite cool, and Ugin's back in it, we know Ugin's going to be there, who now is looking after Bolas, who knows?
I mean, if they don't have Bolas in there in some respect, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I feel like, who knows? I don't know what to expect. All I know is I think they're going to try and pull off this big story arc thing, and I don't think it's going to go off with as much of a bang as they want it to.
Well, yeah, I wonder.
It's going to be a cool set, but I think from a story gravity point of view, I don't think it's going to have the same weight as even something like Valgavoth had.
Do we think... Because there's 3 different storylines happening now, whereas before, for leading up to Phyrexia and then leading up to Bolas arc, so the 2 big arcs.
It was very focused.
Very focused.
This, yeah.
We've got Coin Empire, we've got Dragons, and we've got now Valgavoth.
So I think both the first and the last, if 1 and 3, are back burner until we need to go back to them. Just don't forget about it yet. I think Coin Empire is very much long con. I think they're just going to keep.
You think that's going to be like a decade thing?
Well, we'll get to what's the next set after
sure,
Dragonstorm.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that's going to come in. Valgavoth, I think, is literally going to be like, cool. Now you know he's there. Forget about him for a little while. He's not going to do the Emrakul in the Moon thing of where we might not see it for fucking decades.
Sure.
I just think it's going to be one of those, we don't need to do any more with him right now. We know that people liked him and we can use him however we want.
Oh, sure. So now he's just a big multiversal bad boy.
He's just another option for them to play with, considering they've kind of done Eldrazi and they've done Nicobolas and they've done Phyrexia. They need something else that can kind of be a returning character that has the gravitas without it being beating a dead horse. So I think the idea is that obviously somehow all of the Omen Path, Dragonstorm, all of the Omen Pathy stuff will all tie back in. I think it might even end up being that Ugin might have something to do-ish with Omen Path magic. I don't know, but that confluence is then going to end with Tarkia, and then obviously it's going to be a big thing of how did timey-wimey shenanigans affect things? Does that have something to do with what they're going to go? Can we now go back in time and stop before the Omen Path went? Who knows? It's got so much opportunity and so many cool things have happened between Ugin, time travel, there's Omen Path stuff going on, and it's the culmination of this arc that hasn't really had an arc. It makes me feel like there's going to be cool stuff, but whether they pull it off or not, I don't know.
I think that it's been quite nice, actually, to have a slightly unfocused thing. Just as you were talking about it then, the bit from Dustmourn, the little, 500 word... There was a dragon in the forest and it burnt the forest down, and Kaito's like, what the shit?
And it's a memory.
Such a powerful section of that story that had no explanation.
Zero relevance to anything.
Zero relevance, and was just like, ooh, this is fucking spooky.
Yeah.
I actually quite like that idea. And also the fact that Dragonhawk in Bloomburrow was just kind of just off in the horizon, doing Dragonhawky things.
Yep.
Fucked off again. You're like, what the shit was that?
Yeah.
I quite like it.
Yeah. The other thing is, who else is a dragon who has been interacting with a lot of the multiverse recently?
Kyodai?
Niv Mizzet.
Oh,
Maybe it's
sure.
a misdirect. Maybe he causes a storm. It's his storm. It's the dragon's storm.
Ugin tries to stop Niv Mizzet
from mapping the multiverse, whatever. But if Niv does a thing, goes, now I've mapped the, because we know he's got a map. He's now like, right, now I've got the map. This is what I'm going to do with it. And it has an effect that then causes... Who knows? It's just that's
I just hope Sarkhan ends up happy. They've got
that's my tinfoil
it's not bad.
left field theory.
And then we have Edge of Eternity.
So this out of all of them is most interesting. I couldn't give a flying fuck about wacky races. I don't care about your girlfriend, Nissa. And I honestly couldn't give a shit about Tarkir. Great, dragons. Cool, some more things I have to buy for Mirim. Edge of Eternities? Multiple with Tezzeret, with his Darksteel body floating in space, with a planet bursting behind him, and somehow space is going to fit within the multiverse of magic, and it's going to be justified, and it's going to explain it, and it's going to make sense.
Yeah.
That has the most metaphysical lore implication of anything since the Mending. Arguably, Omen Paths and Loot is also kind of in there, but this is the edge of the multiverse if we're going to see it. And then this is probably also where we're going to see the Coin Emperor come back in.
Yeah, sure.
Because they've got spaceships.
Yeah, they're aliens, yeah.
So I think that'll be their way of going. So maybe all of the multiverse that we've seen is actually only a very small part of a very much greater whole.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, so we're going to have, as you say, celestial bodies. It's definitely space. They've been like, it's spacey, space, with spaceships and space.
Yeah.
Fomori are going to be there. So the planes that are kind of considered the edges around the multiverse. I mean, we have Equilor.
Equilor is our big one, right?
Which is, as it was described as the furthest plane that Urza ever planeswalked to, furthest from the center of what was considered the center of the multiverse, which was Dominaria at the time. That's why it's kind of considered to be this far-flung place. It actually might not be
in the grand scheme of things, that bad. Yeah, especially now with Omen Pass, there might be a way to go blip, blip, blip,
yeah,
blip.
or we find out it's just like, well, relative to Donaria, it's far away, but actually there's shit tons
Or
of
it could be that like there's magic MacGuffin around it that then it's kind of like when he in Star Wars where he says he does the Kessel Run in like
less than 10 parsecs.
Yeah, and the parsec is kind of like the mapping route, which is
it's a miniature unit of distance, not time.
Yeah, and that distance would have to change around the different obstacles around it. So basically, what he said is, I found the shortest route from A to B that no one else has found before, and it might be that Equilor obfuscates your like navigation, so when you try and go into it, it's almost like a sandstorm where like you can't see anymore, so you almost like miss the plane.
The other one that's interesting in terms of if we're going to go somewhere, we know that the Fomori are based on the plane of Ear from Plane Chase,
which also had exceptional magical prowess, right?
Yeah. So if we're saying that the Fomori, that the theory is that the Fomori that as we see them now as the Coin Empire, Ruhan and Fomori Nomad are actually ancient Fomori as back in their barbaric days or whatever. Or maybe they're like it's post-apocalyptic and that's how they are now and the Coin Empire was old tech, whatever. But Ear might be the edge of the eternities.
Yeah, it could be that we go there and then from there we kind of see we see the Fomori and their journey like kind of almost like not as a flashback but almost like, oh okay, well this is where it all started. You know, it might be Quint going like, okay, I want to find their earliest point, and then suddenly someone goes, well, weird that you said about this. I found this technology at this really weird place called Ear. Should we go over there? And then they go over there, and then suddenly it's like, okay, cool.
Wouldn't it be? It would be the biggest fan servicey foreshadow, quote unquote, because it wouldn't be foreshadowing, it would be backshadowing. If they made like, oh, Turi Island, the tower on Turi Island is like the birthplace of the multiverse or some shit.
I could imagine it being that, like, say, Quint accidentally goes onto like a dormant spaceship that hasn't activated, and then accidentally leans on a button. And it goes on autopilot to this part of the multiverse that no one even knows exists.
You're just describing every 2000s
slips
young
out,
adult sci-fi.
Slips out of fantasy multiverse into science fiction multiverse, and suddenly there are planets, and he's like, oh dear lord.
Yeah,
it's going to be, again, it's one of these, how it's going to fit in metaphysically is my biggest question.
Well, they could do something very simple, where it's like they have the cosmos and the realms on Kaldheim. That's a pocket version of the multiverse. The multiverse itself works in the multiversey ways. Other, like, Theros has, like, the levels of, like, reality. So it could just be that
metaphysically takes place with absolutely colossal amount of space.
Space plane, is planets and matter between them.
So from the outside, it only looks... It's like almost like a TARDIS, right? From the outside, it doesn't look that large. When you get in there, it's suddenly absurdly expansive.
Yeah.
Oh, could you imagine that's just how Segovia works? And actually, it's just this... Everything's like... It's like the quantum realm, right? Of where everything's tiny, tiny, tiny. When you're there, it feels like it's really big, but actually you're just all fitting on the top of a pinhead.
Yeah.
That could also be the way they get around it.
They tell the story of this new space plane as if it's some massive epic space adventure, and then it zooms out like fucking Men in Black.
Yeah, exactly like Men in Black.
With the marbles.
Yeah, and then it zooms back into Tezzeret, and you sounds like this little high-pitched voice going, how did I get in this situation?
Yeah.
You know?
Whoops, there I go again.
Oh, good.
Tezzing about.
Oh, fantastic. So I think that's going to be... They've planted just enough intrigue on all of the sets, or all of the planes and everything we're going to make me kind of go, cool. What I'd be interested to see is if the story is so strong in the Magic IP sets, are they going to ignore having a story arc with the other two, and it's just, here's Final Fantasy cards, here's Spider-Man cards, or is there going to be no, we follow this story arc? Do we see anything like, because that's where it gets messy of where they can't...
I don't think they can.
They can't tell their own unique stories, right? All it is at that point is, here's all of the different cards from this IP as a bunch of cards.
I suppose
instead of having any kind of story relevance.
They used to do one-off stories here and there on the Mothership articles. They could just go, here's the Final Fantasy, and then between Final Fantasy and fucking Spider-Man, we're going to give you 5 Dragon arcs.
Because they'll need to do that, right? Because if they can't tell stories within the set or outside in, like, article media, we're going to have a very dry end of the year, because it goes Spider-Man into the unannounced universes beyond, and then we won't really have any story that's magic related for a fair while. And that's something I don't think a lot of people are talking about, is that it's not just a matter of what's sitting in front of me on the battlefield. It's like, what lore has happened in the last 4 months? Are we going to have another, like, blind spot or a blank spot where nothing really happens, like we've got with Theros? And where suddenly it's like, cool, here's all this opportunity to talk about other things, and you're just not, because you're no longer focusing on Magic as a set currently, or as Magic as an IP. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Well,
1 hour 50 right now, so I think we'll call it there. I'm gonna have to. These get uploaded to the YouTube now as well, so I'm going to probably timestamp it.
Yeah,
which would be quite nice. Ooh, fancy. Sweet. Let us know what you feel about everything.
We will be talking about Foundations by itself as a set.
We'll do a flavour pick
once it's fully released, and then I think we actually might find time to do the mechanics episode finally, because there's nothing else for a little while until the
this
new
mechanics episode, man.
I know
it will be done.
I know the problem is every time we put it off, another set's released, and there's like 8 more mechanics to have to take into account. I'm just gonna tell you now, none of the new mechanics are any of my favourites because they're all just riffs on old ones. Even if unless there's one that's like, this is the perfected version of Unearth and I really like it, and then between now and then they've released just another iteration of it that bastardizes
Re-Earth.
it.
Our Twitter is at MT Flavouring. My personal Twitter is at AndyManface. Nathan's, yours is
at the Fox in the Moon.
Emails go to mtflavouring@gmail.com. Cool. I've nothing else to add.
No, we're doing the daytime one. This has been a sober daytime pod.
That's probably why it's coherent and researched.
Yeah, the caffeine's still there. Good.
Oh, where's your cat? Where's Measley?
He's under. He's having probably a little nap now.
Oh.
Napping himself out.
Well, let's go find him. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Magic the Flavouring.
We'll see you soon.